How's it going, everybody? What's up? How you guys doing?
Good. Yeah, man. Good.
Good? How about everyone say hello to the chat, starting with whoever wants to start, so I don't have to do it.
Hello, everyone. This is Reagan from Simplified Symbolism. I know I slaughtered that, but that's a working title anyway.
No, that was a good one, man.
Yeah. I know, but that's still to be simple and then have a title like that. I've thought about it for a while. It's like this is ridiculous, but for the time being, that's where you can find me.
Nice. Who's next?
I'm Silas from Silas Speaks, or also known as Silas Got Air, and it's a pleasure to be here with you all.
You too, buddy. There's only three of us left, so Ronin.
Hey, gratitude, so much love. It's an honor to be with these really hot, powerful beings here next to me. You know, I almost feel unworthy, and I appreciate the chat. Yes, so check out the Ronin experience. You know, I have it. The thing you can look at in the name. ChrisMinor and I do a really amazing show together, and we're actually our chemistry. You know, when you're putting together a championship team, even though you have high caliber players, it takes a while for the chemistry to really start flowing. And I feel like we're getting into a really amazing flow state. So we're doing great stuff over there. So for tonight, you know, being surrounded by these legends, I hope I have something of value to add. So much love and gratitude. I'm honored. Chris, you're the man. Thank you for inviting me. And yeah, that's all I got. So much love. Let's see. I'm really interested where this whole weave. I don't even know where this weave is going to go, but I'm here for the ride. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely, brother. And last but not least, big old Slick.
Big love and respect, everybody.
And it's been a while, Slick. Where you been, man? Moving?
Yeah, man. Riding on that 40th, taking my life west.
Well, hopefully you could bring some of the weaves that we've all missed out on over the last few months since you've been dormant.
Man, there have been many of them. I tell you what, riding on this synchromistic thread, the 40th parallel is nothing to mess with. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, man.
So,
I think I was born on the 40th parallel. No, Elizabeth knew. I shouldn't even say too much. People are going to get too much of my astrological chart down and start putting curses on me probably. But, all right. I mean, should we start with the files and the symbolism that Silas has been bringing up to me, a little bit of these ideas around the eyes wide shut stuff. I've seen some of the videos around. I haven't really watched them because I wanted to come in fresh. What do you think, Silas? What do you got?
Well, regarding obviously the connections between Eyes Wide Shut and Jeffrey Epstein, I mean, just on the surface level alone, you have a similar story, of course, right, between the two. So that's the first thing to mention. Mm-hmm. The second thing to mention is that Jeffrey Epstein actually, several of his the images or photographs of him either at his desk, of course, in one of the four major, it was either 3 or 4 major properties that he had. He was either, obviously photographed next to Talmuds or Zohars or what have you, or of course, in several images he had sex magic ritual books, I do believe. I forget the names of those books now, but interestingly, when I was looking into Eyes Wide Shut just recently there, I came across a very informative book, one that actually inspired a lot of the script writing and occult terminology, occult symbolism within Eyes Wide Shut that informed Kubrick, the director, Stanley Kubrick. It was called Cult and Occult, and it cost me quite a pretty penny, actually. But it's a very interesting book, and it, funnily enough, it goes into the same sort of these ideas regarding sex magic and ritual sex magic, as it pertains, of course, to the occult, and as it pertains to the notions of the coincidentia positorum. Now, interestingly, when we look at that with an Eyes Wide Shut, of course, it ends on this very, one could say, anticlimactic ending, where Nicole Kidman just simply says, you know, what should we should, you know, basically we should as quickly as possible do this. And then Tom Cruise says what, and she says fuck. Now there's of course a reason behind all of that. We'll get into that probably later on, but it's hearkening. They talk about survivability and survival in that sort of ending monologue in Eyes Wide Shut. And this itself links with that book and what you see with that book. Funnily enough, as well, it links to the transgression rituals of the elite and this notion of the coincidentia oppositorum, the union of opposites. It's this notion that the union of opposites almost becomes an acceptance that within the mystery, the incomprehensible, unknowable mystery of the cosmos, that the elite are effectively stating that we understand this, we see it, we can't quite answer it, we can't quite escape from the shell, so to say. But what we can do is put flesh over the form of that mystery, so we become purely materialistic. And this is what this survival notion means, right? Etymologically, it comes from supervivere, so to be beyond life, right? To be beyond the exit itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with the idea of fuck as well, you know, tying in with this sort of sex ritual magic, the idea is that one is almost how could I say it? You're almost marrying the spirit with matter, and in doing so, you're sacrilegiously attempting to destroy the two, so that you can control it. If that makes sense, you can control the ashes of the two, or you can control the corpses of the two. So in that sense, Eyes Wide Shut is very antinomian, right? It's literally an inversion of the natural order of things. And in a similar way, of course, Epstein was also conducting rituals of transgression, right? I think we all know by now what was going on in that island. So yeah, that's the first thing I would say regarding the connection between the two.
You know, I got some fun de-occulting on that title. Cult and occult is CAO, is the KO, is the chaos. But some people, you know, they get a little worried at that word. I think it's also the word for our nature. Your nature is your chaos. Chaos magic is kind of character magic, might be another way to say it. In a certain light, I'll say that, in a certain philosophical light. That's kind of neat because it's occulted. But the technique I'm using here is called Notoricon. It's a cousin to Gematria. When you take the first letters of a phrase, and generally the way that they're laid out in their order is fine as it is. That's Notoricon, CAO, out of that title. But it has a relative to Gematria and Notoricon, and that is Temora. And Temora is anagrams, essentially. And so if you do Notoricon, you can also do Temora with your Notoricon, in which case we get Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, CAO, Ace of Cups, Order Ab Chaos, you know.
Don't tell me she's coming up. Don't tell me, please.
She's coming up, dude. We talk about the donkey all the time. We
I
talk
know.
about the donkey all the time. Look at those teeth on her.
Oh, God. Reagan, what do you think about all this?
Well, from our discussion yesterday, I was bringing up the donkey pretty often in our egregores. So, like Shrek's donkey, right? That was one of the ones I was bringing up. And like you're saying, I don't know the terminology you're using, Slick. It's like onopoetics, right? Syntax, morphology is kind of the things here with the words like Tamara, if I'm saying that correctly, right?
Yeah, they're technically in their original context, they're Kabbalistic methods.
Okay.
Yeah, Gematria, Tamara, and Notoricon. And that's kind of part of the Eyes Wide Shut. Silas, you remember we were talking about how Sobek is the alligator at the foot of denial, and your Sobek anxious is your subconscious. And much like the Eyes Wide Shut, your subconscious, much like Sobek, has his mouth wide open, taking in more information than he can possibly put out. So that is part of the Eyes Wide Shut. And I wonder if alligators have goat eyes shut on the width. Are their eyes shut in the width aspect, like goats and snakes and cats? I wonder if alligators have that.
That's interesting. The first thing to mention regarding the donkey is that there's within Hebrew, and I think this is probably this probably goes back to Set Typhon and the Hyksos, but and of course Set has the animal of Set. Once the Hyksos came into Egypt around about 1700 BC and syncretized Set as their primary deity of worship, he became, instead of a jackal or whatever he was before, I forget now, he became this sort of either donkey or the Typhonian beast. But with the donkey, it almost becomes a homophone in Hebrew, because matter and donkey are effectively from the same root in Hebrew. So you have chamer, which is donkey, and then chomer, which is matter. So it's almost the beast of burden, the donkey, is this sort of materialistic emanation himself. And this ties him with Set and Typhon. And
also
this
Bob,
Kabbalah.
beast of burden, it's Bob, B-O-B.
Yeah. So it's there's also a Robert that I believe there's a Robert character in Eyes Wide Shut too. So yeah, Eyes Wide Shut as well. It's that it's sort of that idea of the winter as well, the winter of disillusion, the darkness itself, and you see both of them go through that throughout the film. Both Nicole Kidman, I believe her name is Alice Hartford, and Bill Hartford, or William Hartford. I've done etymological breakdowns of them, but just off the top of my head, of course, Alice relates to Alice in Wonderland, of course. Alice is the sort of soul. You can think of their marriage, right? Again, this coincidentia oppositorum notion. Their marriage is almost like an individual going through an initiation. So Alice is the soul, is the divine feminine, is the sciatic Isis, the veiled Isis. She which hath bore the fruits of the sun, and which no man hath seen naked. And Bill is the perfect consumer, as you rightly states, like almost like Sobek is this devouring creature of pure consumption. And like what we see with him, he wears a mask, right? He is fully of the mask, similar, of course, to Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a mask, perhaps, of Israel. He certainly wore a mask, when he was engaging with his political cronies. So it was all based upon charisma and a sort of con man tricks. So Bill is almost like the will or the Geist in that sense. And what you see is, well, firstly, before I get to that, what you see is this sort of initiation they go through, right? Similar to what we see with Epstein and his island. In the middle of nowhere, surrounded by the abyss of the sea, the subconscious. And on this island is almost like an altar itself, a ritualistic space where he can totally control everything. Similar to his one of the individuals who bankrolled him, Les Wexner, he also created a similar place in Ohio, I believe, called New Albany. And everything had to be perfect. All of the trees had to be perfect. All of the white picket fences had to be unblemished. So it's this sort of control freakery that you see. But we see that with Epstein's temple too. This evokes ideas of the ritualistic space, total control. And this is what you see with Bill. Bill's world falls apart, of course, once Alice, or Nicole Kidman, states to him that she was in love and longing for this naval officer. And she's sort of wistfully remembering and reminiscing about this, and she confesses this to Bill, and this destroys Bill's perfect marriage, if you will, his perfect life. So he goes through, similar to what Alice also does concurrently, this sort of winter of disillusion, this negredo, this putrefaction, thus hopefully to reach purification, the rubedo stage. But you see this. Jump in, sorry, man.
Yeah, I got something to throw in here that's kind of coming into context as I'm focusing my mental around the Eyes Wide Shut. Islas is the Latin phrase for islands. The love interest, her name is Alice. Isles, even islet, the word islet is another derivative of a little tiny island. And I want to mention that the word island, just plain as it is, anagrams into denials. Sobek is at the foot of denial, right? But also everybody who goes to the island is ready to remain in denial that they ever went there. You better be ready to deny it. But yeah, that's actually also even in the word tunnel is kind of that aspect of denial. But I just wanted to throw that her name is Alice. We're talking about Islas, and the word islands is denials.
Absolutely spot on. Yeah, I never thought of that. That is absolutely spot on. Yeah. So that's even seen as well within the surname of Hartford. So the hart is the stag or the deer. That can almost be seen as the spirit, this sort of vivacious character of the wilderness, right? That itself can evoke many things as well. But the ford as well, you're trying to ford the river. But remember, she is in love with the naval officer. And the naval officer is he who travels down the river to thus reach the sea, the abyss of the unconscious. So basically what Alice, or the soul, is stating, that it does not want the body and the mind, Bill, the will, anymore. It wants to be free to dream new dreams. And this is what you see within the sort of existential condition of man himself, right? But not getting into that territory here. That's a bit dense and what have you. But this is what really is tying this idea of the human condition and the thermodynamics of the soul as it relates to the mind and the will and the psyche is what is being sort of induced and evoked and brought about through these transgressive rituals that we see on Epstein Island, that we've seen basically throughout every single civilizational elite known to man. And it's what binds them together in these sort of criminal fraternities of mutual complicity. So it's a way for them to become supremely materialistic and justify it so in a sort of transcendent or metaphysical way. So that's what you see also invoked, of course, when they go to Somerton House as well.
Look, you mind if I chime in real fast?
I was just about to let you in.
All right. Yeah. So just a couple things while you were talking. You guys know I come from a place of like Hebrew and Kabbalah and all that, coming from the Americas. That also includes that jackal that you were talking about when it comes to Anubis. That black dog is indigenous to the Americas and not in those areas that they proclaim like Anubis and things are from. And when I look up Timor, and of course tomorrow, obviously, and there's Timor everywhere, but you have one of the greatest conquerors that is supposedly a Mongolian conqueror, conquered more than Alexander the Great. And there's obviously mapping names geographically everywhere about Timur, the Mur. And this is one of the greatest leaders. He's also goes. You also might have heard of him. His other name is Tamerlane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that Timor that you were mentioning, Tamora Slick. To me, I like to boil things down to the source. I think a lot of this comes from the Americas and all the previous realms of those things, to include Kabbalah and Torah and all that stuff. So when Silas was earlier talking, I believe these people have a fake code, a hijacked code. I think they're LARPers, and they've kind of they're the new regime that have taken over. So they definitely put their fake code in front of, quote unquote, the real natural code. You see it. Look above your head. There's, all the stuff that you see manifest in like the 3D, etc. And then another thing, Slick, you using your thing about eyes wide shut, using your first letters. I was like, man, something's ringing a bell here. I mean, obviously, early warning systems, EWS, eyes wide shut.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Microsoft Exchange Web Services, which is like a main Microsoft thing, EWS. And then, when I hear eyes, I go with the letter eyes, I, right? So I found some things like Institute of Worship services. And yeah, to the homie in there that was talking about, oh, we're playing word games. This is, in my opinion, I can weave back to the beginning, just going on the symbols alone, symbol by symbol, to find out the truth, in my opinion. So despite the language, so so I find it important. So just to that commenter out there,
yeah, man, I would highlight the S on the end of the word game. Lots of rules, lots of way to play. Power to the playful.
I'd also like to say it seems like we're living in Tamura land, where all the words and letters are mixed around, and it's Babylon. I mean,
oh, and Chris, and if you're when I was a kid, it was like Tamara. Yeah, that's like horrible grammar. Sure.
But that's literally where we are. I mean,
and there's been a lot of archons in history that have influenced to such a degree that it's hard to see the forest from the trees. And comments like that would benefit from looking into the philosopher whose name is Elemento. Go look at Johann Elemento and ask yourself, does he belong in our alphabet? And was he there all along?
Oh, and I have one last note that I wrote, and this is for Silas and everyone. Are you guys aware? So I don't know if you guys are into certain people, but some guys, Dollar Vigilante, Jeff Berwick, and another guy who wrote like Loose Change or whatever, I forget his name. They went on to they took their boat to Epstein Island after all this stuff. This was a couple years ago. And they went to that blue-white temple, and they touched it. They're looking at it. It was
wallpaper, right?
It was like fake, bro.
Fake,
like,
yeah. So we have that. That's a big issue. And I don't know if anyone aside from what's his name, James True. I think he's the only one who I've heard actually bring that up. But that is a huge issue that needs to be addressed, because why the hell,
videos on it.
If this is some sort of ritually important building on the island, why is there fake wallpaper just basically pressed up against the outside of the shed?
Hold on, just one thing, I'll get out of your guys' way. Yeah, Tamar is a very beautiful and powerful name, especially when you look at the early maps from the Spanish about Tamarica. They put a T on America, so Tamar is in reference to the Americas. Again, I'm a little biased. I think a lot of this occult is sourced from, I think America is the Americas are the like origins of all things. So that's where I'm coming. Go ahead, Silas. I just had to throw that out there. The chat's crushing right now.
I think the reason for that, the reason that he created that sort of very cheap, tacky, two-dimensional, I guess you would call it like a fresco or, an outside facade, a painted facade, to sort of evoke that, again, the three-dimensional form and depth, is because it was designed to be theatrical. It was symbolically, representatively theatrical. That's what it was designed to be. It was designed to be tacky. It was there was some guy, Jonathan Pajo, or I forget his name now, and he mentioned that there's very little in here that's that screams the occult. It's all very tacky. I think it was designed to be tacky. I think even back to the Eleusinian mysteries, if you look into that with the Kikion, and even the way that they showed the divine feminine, again, this sort of Zila or soul, this Alice character, if you will, all of that was tacky, extremely tacky. But of course, when you're hopped up on hallucinogens, perhaps it may seem not as tacky. It will bring about, and it will instill a sort of intensity, an egregoric intensity that will project and alter your perception. So we could also go into the Epstein Temple if you wanted. We could run through the symbolism, but I'll let somebody else jump in now.
Yeah, I want to mention that the wallpaper scraping off so easily highly correspondent to the Truman Show, when he gets to the wall at the edge of the dome and
yes,
actually touches
Bingo.
the firmament, so to say. And that's
Bingo, bro.
Yeah, and that's also a bullseye for the Cancer constellation. It's a water symbol. It has the boat in it, and it's at the pinnacle. It's at the top of the Analima. So touching the top as far as you can go. That's the electric slide that the sun does for 3 days at the solstice at the top.
Yes.
And then I also want to mention the scraping of the wallpaper. I'm just gonna. You guys like language games? Let's do language games. Panopticon and Potemkin. Panopticon and Potemkin. Wait, they weren't in the same research trail, but they're an anagram to each other. Panopticon and Potemkin, but they're from two totally different research rabbit trails, but they come together right here at scratching that wallpaper.
Which makes me think that this island was always meant to be torn down and blown up and revealed.
That puts a French flair to the story, I got to mention. They love building their art for destruction.
Yeah. Before we go into the temple, I thought it was interesting. The most interesting part of the island to me was this Zodiac sundial. And it's specifically because there's 13 spots on it. And I know that apparently it's conjecture because we don't know what the files, what's legit, what's not. But he's apparently a part of the Zodiac Society, which is a real club, a real secret fraternal order, or was secret, semi-secret. But I'd be interested to know who that 13th spot is held for, if it's held for anyone at all. And I don't know if any of you have come across that.
Well, 13 did pop up on my synchro radar very recently. And I might be wrong. I'm going to be embarrassed if I'm wrong, but I think 41 is the 13th prime number. I might be wrong.
I'd have to check.
But 41 is the magical parallel of the Sentinel character in the profile of the United States political map. Is the eye line is pretty much the 40th and the 41st, but it goes right through I Am Providence, where HP, High Priest Lovecraft lived at the 41st parallel, I Am Providence, and then it goes right to the Basilica of Rome, where on the Fool card, there is a map of Italy stomping on the neck of the Fool card forever. And his flower is springing out of the shen of the leg of the peninsula from the Basilica of Rome. The map on all the Rider-Waite Fool cards corresponds to this 41st parallel, which I think is the 13th prime number. So there's my magic
Yeah.
on the 13, I think.
It is.
Yeah,
I got a bunch of images for that one.
You want to share?
Sure. How do I drop them up to you though? So,
If you just, I think if you had just hit the share on the screen below, I could then just put it on the screen for you to control.
Yeah, it's just the screen with the plus sign, man, at the bottom.
there's a lot of those.
So I think it would be.
I'm gonna try this way, and we'll see how this.
Yeah.
Wonder if it'll even let me do more than one at a time. Nope.
And
It's only gonna be one.
yeah, you might have to do one at a time, which is unfortunate.
Whatever.
So these are weaves about the 13. Oh yeah, this is going to be
13,
good.
14, and so 41 is the reverse of 14, right? So that's you got your 41 is the 13th prime, and then its reverse is 14. 14
wow.
rays of the son of Egypt, with Amenhotep and all those people. But just the symbolic reference to these, it should pop up in one of these. 14, 1 and 4 together makes the H, which is the bridge, right?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Which is, didn't they have oh no, they didn't call it the bridge to nowhere on the island. It was the stairs to nowhere. That's it.
Stairs to nowhere.
Yeah, we had many of them, yeah.
While I love the H because it's actually it's actually electricity, and you can see it in all the old altars and alternators in all the various cathedrals. Straight up electricity.
So, and then 13 is also the symbol for the letter B, right? Which is the second letter.
Is that this one?
Well, they're all kind of the same, right? You can see 1 and 3 together make the symbol B. You don't really need it
Yeah.
for that. It just is, right? Which 13 is the M, which is mother, which is balance right here. The highlighted portion of the slide you got up right now.
Mm-hmm.
It all kind of feeds into each other. That's why it's like all of these, I would look at them all together. I would never really just look at one, right? Otherwise, you're going to get stuck in an echo chamber. That's what happens when you sit in the same group of people and talk about the same things all the time. Not speaking of us, but, it's stepping outside of your bounds from time to time and creating that fricative force that all life acts upon. But yeah, with right when you said it, Slick, that was the first thing I thought of. With you're 41, I think is the 13th prime. Here's what I thought of, right?
Nice. Yeah, man.
So it's interesting because that almost then insinuates that not only is there a 13th position, there's a 14th in this fraternal order.
Correct.
In this secret society. But I mean, I don't know how much the Zodiac Club, if anyone here could connect that to Eyes Wide Shut at all, I have no idea.
There is probably a 15th as well. I mean, if you look
there's
on
always more. I think there's always more is the secret to it. It's always continuing. You're always in motion. It never stops. To stop is to be actual death or non-existence. That doesn't exist here in its purest form, right? That would be pure potentiality, or at least a perception of it is the stillness, serenity.
Something that comes to my mind is the 13th Amendment gave emancipation. It didn't really set anybody free. It did emancipation, which is kind of in a very morbid way. It's correspondent to the fact that the slaves were kind of considered the children of their owners. That's more of the legal consideration for the paradigm, is that the slaves are being emancipated, kind of like when you turn 18, you're emancipated. But I'm thinking of the death card, 13, all the superstition, both superstition and sometimes things that are stigmatized, they're actually creating a protective barrier. So I think, some people hold that 13 extra sacred, especially the ladies that operate on a 13 moon cycle, right? So even in that, it's an occulted calendar, a lot of people say it's all sun worship. And if it becomes all sun worship, then all the moon cycles are running games right under your nose where you're not looking, on a different metric, right? On a different scale, at a different tenor or tone. All right. What you thinking, Ronin? He's in the bathroom. Okay.
No, I'm listening.
Big love, brother.
Now, Silas, did you have something that connected that the Zodiac group to Eyes Wide Shut?
Well, I mean, the Zodiac group itself, this idea of the 13 obviously links to the potential 13th sign of Ophiuchus.
Mhm.
This ties in with the Silver Gate and the Silver Gate from Orion, all the way, of course, to Ophiuchus, the Golden Gate, which, of course, Ophiuchus stands on the head of Scorpius, or Scorpio, rather. Which is, of course, the sign of death. So it's the conquering of death through the exiting of the strange loop of existence. You find the exit where within the system of no exits. And you do that, of course, vis-a-vis that sort of spiral and inwards. This is where the spiral symbol comes from, where you're introspectively emerging out of your own cave, emerging out of your own winter of disillusion. This is what you see in Eyes Wide Shut as well. Now, again, this isn't, these ideas are not necessarily evil or good, but they can be used in transgressive ways.
Mm-hmm.
You can use them to, Kabbalah can be used to instantiate and bring about systems to manipulate the world for your own ends, materialistically. Or, of course, you can use them for emancipation, spiritual emancipation, perhaps even theosis, a relationship you gain with God. Other things we could mention regarding the temple, and even the 13, the 14, and all of this, is that you're quite right, Slick. The 13th prime is 41. Interestingly, this links back to the mother, or the divine mother notion, right? This is what you see in Eyes Wide Shut as well, with the 8-rayed star of Venus. The reason for that, of course, is because Venus has an 8-year cycle where it goes through 5 conjunctions. If you map those 5 conjunctions, it creates the pentacle, the outline of man. So you have all of this. This goes back millennia, right? But the Hebrew, interestingly, in Kabbalah, 41 is associated in terms of Gematria value, and Gematria works in Hebrew directly because Hebrew is an alphanumeric system, meaning it's the letters also function as numbers. But the Hebrew word M, which can also be pronounced like Om, which is the Sanskrit, sort of sacred Sanskrit divine frequency notion. M means mother. So you have that connection. Also as well, the 41st angel of the 72 angels, or the 72 names of Shem Hamiforash, Yahweh, in all but name, belongs, funnily enough, to an angel called Ha-Ha-El. That's a difficult one to pronounce, but it's basically He, He, He. He, of course, in Yod He, Va He. The 2 He's in that are the feminine elements of water and earth. So He, 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 or Ha-Ha-El is of course, the sort of god or the goddess of the Trinity, if you will. So you've got that tie-in too. With the temple as well, if you actually count the talit, the blue and white of the talit, which is the purity and, of course, the abyss of water, the subconscious, you count them, of course, you get 14. It at either side, with the 15th at the capstone or the apex of that arch of the doorway. The 15th is something that links with the Masonic Jacob's Ladder. And we'll get into this idea of stairs as well. That's also something you see in Eyes Wide Shut, funnily enough. But so the 15th is linking with Yahweh again, right? In Hebrew, you pronounce 15 vis-a-vis Yah. And Yah is this sort of it's the will, it's the divine will, if, in a sense, as opposed to the He, which would be the more receptive or passive element of that tetragrammaton, that of divinity. So the 15 itself, it links with limitation. It is the sort of limitability of the realm of the world in which we reside. So this is why the 15th tarot card, of course, is the devil. So, but the linking with the 13 as well, the 13th letter is mem in Hebrew. So obviously that's our M, which is also the 13th letter. This, funnily enough, the reason that's the death card is because M, which again you see in Eyes Wide Shut as well, this M symbol, not as much as you do with other symbols, but you see it here and there. That is the statistical outline of what's called the bimodal distribution, which is effectively the harvest. So it's when you have a sort of bottleneck event, a reset or a rest day, the 7th day. So it's these sorts of ideas that you're seeing intermixed with 13, 14. The 14, of course, links with Osiris. The reason for that is because on the 5 digits of the hand, those can be counted out into 14 segments. So the idea with that is it's the instrument of the will. So the instrument of the will, the hand, if you will, is that which can, grasp out into the void, or reach out into the void, rather, to grasp the infinite. So the finite grasps the infinite and sort of holds it together, clasps it together, almost like an artificial egg, an artificial virtual reality, if you will. Again, the spiraling inwards. If we can't exit the stage, we'll just create a stage within the stage, a meta theater. So it's these sorts of ideas you see running around all of this too.
I can add real fast, Gabe. I'll get it. Hawa, right? Flip that M upside down. I consider that incredibly powerful when based on Phoenician and Hebrew. And also Tepe, temple, and that's where you hear Indians, TP, right? So Hawa is, in my opinion, the Almighty in reference to a lot of this, because I feel a lot of this is based, when you boil it down, on Phoenician and ancient Hebrew. And we know how they invert things. So literally the Wa, if you look up the W, which actually didn't exist that long ago, really, in English, it was just 2 V's. I mean, you can look up old laws, right? LAVVES, whether it was King Carl, Charles, Jarl, and those types. But the Wa is actually, when I look at the Phoenicians, it's actually looks like 2 Y's, 2 Yahs, when you create that lettering, if you look into that. So, and Hawa is also related a lot to water. So, and we know like memory, water, all that things, lots of water symbolism there. So when I see the M, I like to invert it when they show things like that. I like to invert it, and to me, that's a Wa sound. Hawa is like one of the most powerful sounds you can make in reference to that. So that's all I got, Gabe. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, man. I see all of these correspondences. They kind of they all ping on the number 6 in a fascinating way. The 6th prime is 13, 6 is F, 13 is M, but Fs also are sometimes in the old languages correspondence to Ws. So the Fs,
Oh, I thought they were P's also. A lot of pay and fay kind of interact.
because Ps were soft, which makes an F. And in old text, S's and P's were interchangeable as well. So yeah, there's a lot of linchpin phonetics around 6 being the 13th prime, 613 mitzvahs, 6 is F, 13 is M, free, masonry, F, M, radio, right?
Mhm.
These are kind of just echoes of the same truth around the number 6 because the 6th prime is number 13, F to the M.
I
And you know
find
that 6 does resemble their little squiggly symbol a little bit in their grossness, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, in the hand. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, they have that 6 with the no. You know, imagine I don't want to go like dark on, but
like the spiral. You're talking about the spiral?
yes,
Yeah.
it loosely resembles a G and a 6 when it comes to how they harm small people. I'm trying not to. I'm not trying to go there. You know what I mean? But maybe I'm reaching. I don't know, but I'm just throwing that out there.
That's very interesting. 6 is a very sexual number.
The this image that Reagan brought up too, it's interesting that the formation from hold on. From the Eyes Wide Shut scene is like the T. So you get that T formation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, also Chris, I believe Stanley Kubrick.
That the tri was it the tri? My bad, Ronin. What is that? The tri? Why am I forgetting?
Prosonoia?
The T is actually something else. It's
Tav.
Well, it's
the triple tau. Triple tau.
It's a tau, which is
Go ahead, Ronin. My bad.
No, I just want to say, and Chris, keep going, but I just want to say, I believe Stanley Kubrick was like, hey, I wrote a really occultic movie, and they cut out all the really occult stuff and turned it into something else. So we're not even seeing in that movie his original vision. I believe Silas talked. I'm not aware of this based on any books. I'm not aware of the original stories, but yeah, they kind of hijacked it to. This is one of my favorite little quick cheat sheets of the letters. I love this one, but yeah.
That's this. Everybody get your screenshots. These are priceless.
This is my favorite one, Gabe. I love as a quick thing.
This is lock picking.
That one.
This is
a good one.
Yeah, philological lock picking. That's what this is. And I want to point out Kubrick's birthday is exactly the same day as Carl Jung's birthday. And if we are turning Epstein's Island into some little treasure hunt in the Cancer constellation, then the date that the island would land on in the Cancer constellation, which is a water element, the date would be July 26th. That's Kubrick's birthday and Carl Jung's birthday. On this island, they were getting with very young individuals, and everybody has the common ground. We all have the common shared experience of being juvenile. In fact, it's my favorite mode.
And also, speaking of what Ronin said, he did die, I believe, before the final edit was released, right, of the film. So they were able to change things. Yeah,
he died like within a couple weeks of it releasing, or just before, after.
Yeah.
And interestingly as well, during that ritual in Eyes Wide Shut in the Summerson house or mansion, and there's something to that as well. Somerton, the summer town or the settlement of summer.
Is that this one?
Yeah, during that, there was actually meant to be, instead of the Romanian chant that's spoken backwards, which is interesting nonetheless, but because it speaks of apprentices and all of this type of notion, but it was actually meant to be a sort of chanted verse from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. I believe it's the, here we go. It's the chants reference verses 7 and 8 of chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, which speaks of Krishna returning age after age to, effectively destroy evil and to protect the righteous, to destroy the wicked and protect the righteous. And interestingly, that's the same language that's used in the eschatology of the Kabbalah. They talk about the wicked and the righteous and returning, world age after world age, which these world ages were broken down, of course, into compartmentalized sorts of denominations, but the larger ones between each world age was about 7,000 years, or 6 steps of 6 millennia. So what you're seeing there on the Zodiac would be a quarter turn between, like on the World Tarot card, between each fixed star, around, of course, the Divine Mother, the Sciatic Isis, around around the soul of man. And the idea is that as humanity develops, right, that the Sciatic Isis, the world, the feminine world, right, the promise of the world, is slowly sort of undressed by technology, by materialism. So I think this idea that you're seeing with the Trinity there, of course, with the red cloak, that's interesting just in and of itself, right? The red and the gold of the sun. It's almost like he has he is not just surviving, he is actually materialistically, but in a sort of way in which he's married his spirit with matter in a very transgressive way. He is actually living vicariously through this. I mean, living, quote unquote, whatever that means. But this is what it's evoking with the red and the gold. So the blood, or that which is of danger. That's what we see throughout Eyes Wide Shut. The red is associated with danger. It's associated with the sort of twists and turns, the meanderings on the road, the parts that aren't flying straight and sure, the parts that judge and even challenge Bill, or of course Alice, and of course the gold is the sun. But what you see in this image as well is like what you said, the T. It's almost like the T is within the solar circle, the entire cycle. And by the way, all the masks are quite interesting too. I don't know. I've been trying to find the masks somewhere in my notes, but they're really interesting. But what you're seeing there is basically wild. the end of the cycles, the Tau, the end of the cycles. The Tau also evokes as well the Hanged Man, which is that the horizontal of that, the upper horizontal is the abyss. It's that sort of liminal point between the earth, or between man and between, of course, heaven, right? So man is not one, man is two. So the idea is that you're betwixt the supernal and the infernal, the heavenly and the earthly. And what you're seeing there with Bill is this is something that's constantly evoked with Bill, is this notion that ultimately he realizes everything he is, his entire character, his mind character, his persona, is a mask. And when he is instructed by the Red Cloak to take off the mask, what effectively he is, and he's also told to undress as well. What the Red Cloak is effectively stating to him is that when he takes off the mask, that there's nothing under there, right? So he tells him to undress as well, because effectively what it's symbolically saying is the Red Cloak is trying to set, as the demiurge, as the judger, is even the psychopomp, is attempting to actually search for Bill's soul. Bill has no soul. Bill's soul is Alice. right? Without Alice, Bill is nothing. So without the soul, the intellect or the will is nothing. That's what it's stating. And then I believe it's another scene where you see the mask on the pillow when Bill walks
I was
in.
literally, that's so funny. You just said that because I
Yeah.
just pulled it up. I just
Well,
pulled that. I just pulled that exact image up.
Yeah, so this is it. And then she wakes from a dream where she's saying, "Oh, there were so many of them." And what this is also hinting at is Alice is actually a high priestess. She is a high priestess of the cult. She's been through this. We could probably go into the redheads and the symbolism behind that, but what this is showing is that fundamentally there is nothing to Bill. The reason Bill wears the mask, like most people wear the mask, is because it's trying to hide the fact that fundamentally there is nothing. The origin point of the human soul is nothingness, is the ayin, is the singular. This is very Kabbalistic, right? This is why you see the blackness behind it. Fundamentally, there is nothing to Bill. Without the soul, Bill is nothing, right? Hell, without the mask, Bill is nothing, right? He sort of is naked. After eating from the fruit of the tree of knowledge at Somerton House or Somerton Manor, where he was involved in a ritual he didn't quite understand.
She constantly eclipses him throughout the film, like even in this shot.
You know, I got to point out another Notoricon, EWS, eyes wide shut. It's AWAS. And I'm pretty sure Crowley needed Rose before he could proceed with AWAS. So I'll just plug that into the redhead component.
Spot on, yeah, and also as well, that perhaps links with the Lover tarot card. I believe it's also a redhead in the Devil. Now, absolutely that links to the rose, and that rose is like what we see with Dat Rosa Melapibus from the rose, the bees gain honey, right? Effectively, it's the same idea, right? That the Geist, that which creates the technology, that's to effectively destroy the human soul. I mean, it's very strange, the human condition, right? We create technology to actually destroy our own soul, to destroy that which makes us human. In a way, it's quite strange. But the redhead also evokes the symbolism of Mary Magdalene, or the fallen, the fallen feminine, the fallen divine feminine. Somebody mentioned, look at that image, the shadow is the mask upside down. Absolutely. The idea is that this world is fundamentally like a camera obscura. It's inverted, So it's everything that we see is upside down. Our brain has to flip it the other way around. So this is what this also invokes. By the way, the redheads in it. There was an individual I was listening to a wee while back,
Ronin.
and he mentioned that if you look at, I think there's like 5 redheads throughout the story. Basically, all of them are basically Helena, the child, throughout the stages. Because remember, right at the end, Helena goes with the 2 men that were already at the party previously in suits. And for 3 minutes, she's just nowhere to be seen while they're having this ending monologue. So the idea is that she, of course, was abducted into the cult. And the reason that Alice, or Nicole Kidman, is crying at the end and distraught almost is because she knows what's going to happen. That it's the cycle begins again, the cycle of abuse, the cycle of the destruction of the divine feminine, the soul. All the way, like the World Tarot card, all the way, of course, until she is completely naked before the techno god, if you will. So it's this sort of idea, I think.
Yeah, I would point out how that trauma that she's expressing for giving up her child is an extremely hyperbolic analog of simply informing on your child on the birth certificate. You know, there's a buyer's remorse when you realize what you set your child up for. You know, the citizenship is it's more than any child should ever be able to read the terms of the agreement on. So yeah, just wanted to mention that.
Spot on. Yeah, absolutely.
Trying to share some of these other images you sent me, Silas, too, of the islands, but I think whoever shared these two, if they want to mention anything about them, go
I've
ahead.
been just popping stuff up as
Okay,
Silas has been talking.
Oh,
That's
no,
kind of
cool.
how we talk, you know.
Yeah, no, I
More
figured.
images and
I figured
yeah,
that's what was going on.
You know, that cyclone look reminds me of there's been demonstrations of how they run their Mooney magic to steal actually real world assets. That's actually how they operate in the 3D. That cyclone looking imagery.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, spot on. It's the F equals minus F. It's basically like the void economy, I call it. You know, the double entry bookkeeping and things like that. All of that is based around that. Yeah, absolutely. Spot on.
Here, I could even bring up now.
Dude, Silas, what's funny is they will literally show you that diagram in like their like financial, when they're doing their financial wizardry, like how to acquire all these assets. The cyclone is their diagram, which is hilarious.
Yeah, Epstein actually mentions that. He says that the majority deal in the real, but we deal in, well, effectively abstraction, you know?
You know, I want to read a poem real quick before that graphic we just had with all the spirals and the vortices. Even on the patio, he's got a bunch of wild patterns going. I'm just going to read The Second Coming by W.B. Yeats real quick here. When I see these graphics, a lot of very potent poems from history come to my mind. The Second Coming by William Butler Yeats. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming? Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of spiritus mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in sands of the desert, a shape, the lion body, and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun is moving its slow thighs, while all about it, real shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. Oh man, we're vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. That's the poem that comes to mind with these images.
That's very interesting. It's the lion-headed man is almost like the Hierophant, the Leon to Cephalin. And I believe the Hierophant means the revealer of the sacred. So it's this same idea of technology as well, you know, turning. Yeah.
The lion-headed man also or lion-headed, I guess, deity is Mithras. Like you have the lion with the coiled snake. But I was going to say that poem sounds an awful lot like Poe. Poe had a poem that was very similar to that. It was more along the lines of a short story, actually, where he finds himself in the desert, and I think it's the Arabian desert, and it's, I think, the Dajjal, or the Muslim Antichrist, is like coming for them, and they're in a cave, and they're trapped in a cave, and it's a very similarly worded story.
That's
And
very
if I can find it, I'll send it to you after.
right on. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it's called Silence or something, isn't it?
It might be, actually.
Yeah.
It might be.
Interesting. That reminds me of the voice to skull they used on the people in the Middle East to make them come out and surrender. Kind of comes to mind there.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing as well. See Epstein. This entire story is literally the destruction of the old. They're burning the old world to bring in the new. This is a global mass initiation. The reason it's so connected as well to this idea of water. We brought up birth certificates, right? Even the birth. This is what ships do. The banks, either side of the river, to maintain the direction of the meanderings of that river. We saw as well with Epstein's temple.
It's all about the myrrh. It's all about the myrrh, bro. The myrrh.
Absolutely.
The myrrh cons. Oh, and Silas,
Yeah.
I'll be quiet. No, before you said birth, oh gosh, I had something brilliant to say. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I apologize.
Birth is an anagram for
armpit.
birth is an anagram for tribe. And the rib.
Interesting. Yes.
Silas, I'm sorry. You said something originally, and I was going to mention. What did you say before you started talking about the seafaring aspects? I got it, Silas. I'm back. So I've heard, this is not an original thought of my own. I've heard other people say this, but essentially, the Malachian, I'm going to use their language. The Malachian age is ending, and the Luciferian age is coming in to fruition. So you have this old aspect of the Malachians that we've been dealing with, and Reagan's been crushing it with the chat, in reference to the wordplay there. And now we're entering in Luciferian age. And by the way, none of these people are cool, but they're having their own little wrestling match. What do you think about that side? And then that's again, this is not an original thought. I'm parroting what I've heard other people say. Is that anything? Because you were talking about a new age kind of. You were getting stuff.
Once we get into the stellar imagery, in that temple, that actually it conveys that idea. But the Luciferian age, if you will, is the idea of the mind of man. That becomes the light within the dark of the soul.
Well, and Steiner would obviously say that we're leaving a Luciferian age, going into an Ahrimanic age.
He would,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
And I gotta plug in my Enneagram vision here. The whatever Malachian would definitely be a 1. Perfectioner, reformer, shadow of wrath, remedial virtue of wisdom. Lucifer is totally number 2, pride, remedial virtue of forbearance. And the number 3 personality type is achiever with a shadow of deception. That's pretty much Armon. And the remedial virtue of honesty, candor. There's something else. There's an even better word. It's almost prehension, but there's a level of genuine authenticity that the number 3 personality type, that's their highest virtue, which is anti-Ahrimanic, or maybe vice and virtue are not dipodal. Maybe they're not dipodal. Dipolar. I'm gonna hit
bipolar.
Something like that. I'll be right back, fellas. Speaking of dipolar, I'm going to go hit the other head.
Oh, and you were talking about me earlier, Gabriel. Okay. I'm still here, dude.
Karma.
Oh, real quick to the chat again. So harm harmony is one of my favorite expressions. I look at it as gar, like garamons, and it's an actually incredibly and beautiful word. So harmony, okay, if you want to have, here's some homework. D Zerda, look up H's and G's. Look up har and gar, her and ger, and those how they are synonymous with each other. So that and in my opinion, like harm could be a hijackery word. It's actually a beautiful concept, in my opinion, based on. I just want to throw. I'm talking about the chat, but yeah. And Chris, Gabriel was giving me stuff earlier, right? Like I'm in the bathroom. No, I'm here, dude.
No, I know.
Full circle, man. That's
No.
just full circle.
Now, Saz, I know you're bringing this up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yes. There's actually a better image I have.
They're the same word. Sorry. They're the same. Yes, har and gar and her and ger. Yes, G-E-R. They're all synonymous with each other. Look into it. Go ahead, Silas. Forgive my rudeness. I just wanted to.
No, bro, it's okay, man. I'm trying to actually find. There is a better image I have of that. I got it from that O'Keefe Media, which is that what's his name, James O'Keefe or whatever.
Nice.
I love this,
Is it one of these?
Yeah, but there's one where it shows the entire thing and it's very clear.
Okay.
The constellations and the names, but just to give my general breakdown of it, it goes from Orion, as you can see, Taurus, and what you're seeing is the ecliptic line. That's the sun, of course, passing through the zodiacal belt, and it's basically working its way. That would be eastward, if I recall. So from the Silver Gate all the way to the Golden Gate of Ophiuchus, and then it goes even further to Aquarius, and I believe it ends in Capricorn, and I think that's Virgo right at the end. Now, what you'll find is there's actually inconsistencies with this. There's some constellations that shouldn't be where they are. It's almost like he's reworked it into a sort of astro mythology of his own making, right? But what I think he's trying to create here, and you see Cetus right at the beginning too, what he's trying to create here is it's almost this Ophiuchian cycle, I call it, right? So he's if you look at the serpent's cauda, the Ophiuchus, which again the serpent's cauda passes through the bowels of Ophiuchus, the belt of Ophiuchus, and then passes out the other side, the eastward side of serpent's caput, the head of the serpent, and then of course that serpent is crowned. The idea is that effectively, getting back to what we were mentioning, even the age of Lucifer and Ahriman, is that man goes through these cycles like the World Tarot, where he's attempting to unravel his own soul. He's trying to find the sacred, the Hierophant, reveal the sacred. By revealing the sacred, he feels he can become God, not necessarily become God spiritually, but become God in terms of material power, the ability to manipulate the physical world. So this is what they're looking at. You'll also notice with the ship, of course. I don't actually have the quotes that ties in with this, but with that ship, you'll see the Israeli flag, effectively the Kabbalistic sigil. Right next to it, you'll see that of course, the lion head right at the back of I believe that's the keel of the ship. And then you have the Templar.
Yeah, Templar here.
I forget what the other sigils are. I'm still trying to figure them out. But
we might be looking at the Nine Worthies, maybe the Ivy League. I think there's a code from the Nine Worthies to the Ivy League crests, and I think we might be seeing some of that packed in if anybody looks into the Nine Worthies.
What's that? Could you go into that?
Is that,
Yes,
is that related to the Peshmerga and the 1 less than 10? The way
probably, and even the 10th man from World War Z is probably in the mix. But Machiavelli made a system of civic design that was based on a Privy Council of 9 that has been picked up and replicated. But I think it also is kind of in the fraternal orders. There will be kind of like we're talking about with the Zodiac Society, but older.
The 9. They had the 9.
Yeah. So they have these 9 mantles, and and they sit around a round table. But I think that the Ivy League schools are carrying those mantles, or were at one point. I don't know if they are today, but at one point, I think they carried those mantles over.
That's interesting. So that'll tie in with the Venetian count. Was it the Council of 10, or it's like the beginnings of like I believe it's the first intelligence agency or something. I forget what they're called now. That sounds like that. Yeah, that's it. Probably, yeah. I think as well, overall, it's showing this unholy alliance between Western Christendom. No, I don't mean the revealed layer. I mean the esoteric layer of it, in terms of the Templars and even the Knights Hospitaller, and that of Kabbalah. Not necessarily Judaism, but Kabbalah. So it's showing this sort of unholy alliance, and that's what's sort of carrying everything forward. Jump in.
One more thing I think I should say about this, intersect of the 9. I believe there's a legend that has to do with the 9th Legion of Rome. After a war, they were supposed to come back to the motherland and bring all the spoils. They're like, you know what, we could do this on our own, and so they take off to the New World. That might be kind of part of their origin mythology.
Yeah, the 9th Legion, Hispania. Yeah, I think that was in Britain, wasn't it?
You got it.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. You see this 9 constantly. The 9 worlds.
The Lost Legion. They were known as well.
That's it. Yeah,
which is interesting that they're called the Lost Legion.
Yeah,
and you have Lost as an island, a show that's an island. Oh man, an island with a crocodile or alligator god. I think it was Sobek.
You know what's funny is if you guys for the Lost, so there is if you look up the Black Knights, right, and this has to do with the Maurice. You have there was a troop, a quote unquote troop. I'm talking like in Wikipedia terms, right? Like if you look it up, you look up the Black Knights, and there was a big old force, and they were supposedly like quote unquote lost, and they were ran by there's one famous guy called the Black Knight Maurice, and the Mer Masons, etc. So they are known. There's a quote unquote history. I'm talking mainstream history, right? I'm not even talking occult history. You decode it as you wish, but a lost troop of Black Knights, right? And Maurice, etc. So what's funny, Chris, I only mentioned that is a lot of this fiction or these stories, legends are based on real world things. But again, I'm talking in Wikipedia surface level stuff, history. You know what I mean? There is decode all that as you wish,
Well, it's interesting because I was looking at this Lost Legion or 9th Legion, and then I went to the Eagle of the 9th. I don't know if you could see this. Do you see the image that comes up there? That's Kurt Metzger, by the way.
Yeah,
he literally wears this every time. So I don't know why he's wearing the Eagle of the 9th outfit from this
Kurt
book.
Metzger. That's totally Capper Kurt Metzger.
He wears this.
What does he wear?
He literally wears this exact outfit, with this weird and has the he even has the staff.
Yeah.
And the Rumans pomegranates. But remember I told you, Chris, I was really not feeling that double-headed eagle. That was a single-headed. That double-headed eagle I started to reevaluate that and go, I'm not actually a fan. that is actually conquering, like this latest regime.
Yeah, I remember you were saying that.
Yeah, because I'm actually on this tip where I'm like, I'm reevaluating phoenixes. I'm like, are phoenixes cool, or am I getting trapped into their thing? But yeah, sorry.
So one thing I want to throw on this number 9, that again with the primes, right? The second layer of presentational immediacy. The 9th prime number is 23. 23 in me is a big collectivism, noble lie that we're all in this together. And Serpens Coda, Silas, is the 23rd constellation by size on the IAU.
Interesting.
And it has the word coda in it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's deeply encoded. But yeah, I believe the 23rd Amendment is the lame duck presidency, which is interesting because PHI, phi, 23rd Greek letter, PHI, personal health information. Lame duck presidency has to do with the interregnum. But then just going back to the 9 as well, the 9th Amendment is the unenumerated powers, which is a whole lot of things.
Gabriel, let me ask you this. Let me ask you a question, Gabriel. And Silas touched on this earlier in a more esoteric way. So I remember a couple years ago, big in the news with the contingency of government was like, it seemed like that was a message that
the continuity of government.
Continuity. Yes, please. Thank you. So I feel like this is loose. This is 3D stuff. Gabriel, does that tie into anything that you and Silas were weaving on?
Yeah, cogito ergo sum. I am thinking, therefore I exist. A lot of our wheels of the willpower of our language kind of are mechanistic, thanks Leibniz. But I want to mention the cog is actually continuation of government. That's all the gold from the Civil War. The South they didn't just go away and sell everything off. They invested into continuation of government. And Walter Bosley and Joseph P. Farrell, Dr. Farrell, he's got a lot of information on why the continuation of government is real bad news, because we're basically going to the Confederacy for the system of Kybernetes, controlling the Kelly pots.
What's funny is I don't recall them ever mentioning that in the mainstream many years ago. I feel like that's like a new thing.
I wonder if it came to surface with the 2008 housing crash, if it was injected into the vernacular right around then. There's one thing about the cog. In the Bible, any man who should mess with children should have a millstone tied around his neck and thrown off into the ocean to the bottom of the sea. Mm-hmm. Well, strangely enough, the guy who invented the stock market, Thales, he collected all the millstones, got a monopoly on the millstones before a drought happened. And then when the drought comes along, everybody has to come to him because he's got all the millstones. And guess how he died? He died falling into a hole because he was paying up too much attention to astrologoi, much like stock market. Billionaires don't pay attention. Trizillionaires do. That's Thales falling into the hole, and it has to do with the cog.
Dude, guys, I have to take it here for 1 second, and it drives me crazy, even though I'm trying to protect my energy. A young lady may get harmed, right? And then they get mad at the guy because people go, they may like insult him in some way, right? They may like some perceived, they call him a name, and they're more mad at the name labeling calling than the actual act that the guy did to harm say a young lady. And this is so common, Gabriel, guy, like I know this is what they're up to, but it's still, I can't help it. to
Wow.
be angered. And I'm trying to use very sensitive language. You know what I
Would-
mean?
Are you saying that they address the symptom and not the
Yeah.
action? Yeah, they over symptomatize.
Or like, hey man, someone might call someone a word. Well, that guy actually did very real harm. So what's worse? Who's the victim here? The person doing the thing, or the victim who received and we know what they're up to. You know, but I can't help, but it does make me angry if I'm being honest. You know,
that kind of makes me think of how we should not be calling them pedophiles. Phile implies love or affiliation. We should be calling them pedovores because it is a consumption of innocence.
Dude, Philadelphia has been going nuts with like their people talking about love.
That's because the city is named an anagram for the act.
So are you guys seeing the chat too, by the way? It looks like YouTube's down. YouTube
it's
got
more
hacked.
than YouTube. It looks
Oh,
like
buddy.
Google's down,
buddy.
Dead by Daylight, Steam, Pokerock, Hypixel, Pinterest, YouTube.
I'm on
Wow.
Chris. I'm on your YouTube, and it looks up.
It's
I know
spiking like
it's
crazy,
still playing
too.
for me too, but it must be down for a lot of people. Which is today's a 2/17 eclipse, right? It's eclipse day.
Well, yeah, well, it's a solar, but it's not Mercury retrograde doesn't kick in for a bit. We're like
yesterday was 216. That's 6.
we had a
times 6
planetary
times 6.
parade incoming. It's not even there yet. Like we're not there yet. We did have the whole Ring of Fire solar eclipse earlier this morning, but no, this is not related to we can't blame this on the luminaries.
I was more so blaming it on whoever follows luminaries and maybe is planning sort of outages during certain times,
harnessing natural elements in concordance to their will,
just for their little ritualistic means and whatever the hell they believe occurs when they do things at certain times.
They should come here. That's why, Chris, if I'm being honest, I don't know if I like that where everyone shares the live on their own channel. It's like come to the cookout. Come where we're at, and we're gonna have a good time. Because your channel's still up on YouTube.
Well, the thing is, I think you could as long as it's streaming on one, eventually then it would be able to still be up on all after, which that's a benefit of it, I think. And then you can add collaborators now afterwards. So I can share a link with all you guys, so every YouTube has each of our names on it as a shared stream if we wanted it like that.
The 20th is when I think the planetary parade begins, and
that's weird because of 221.
There's a lot of and there's a lot of cha-cha that happens after that, and then Mercury, and then the lunar eclipse. Dude, this lunar eclipse with Mercury retrograde, bro. You guys are not. You don't even know. You think you saw weird news stories happening? Like you ain't even. This is not anyway.
Yeah, we got Uranus is in the Hierophant's lap, y'all. Uranus is in Taurus. It just came out of retrograde just recently. It's so bonkers in the sky right now. Chris, can you rip through any of the graphics that I sent to you in the Telegram?
Yeah, just give me 1 second to open it.
I bombarded. Yeah, when I heard we were getting together today, I just bombarded Chris with just a ton of graphics.
Also, something I wanted to bring up related to what Ronin was saying too. The focus on the words almost seems related to probably the discussion that Silas and I think Reagan, you were in it too, right? The one on egregores and the creating of like this artificial man, because you're switching the focus on words, basically on ideas, and you're almost seeing a disassociation occur in people from this release that's like allowing them to be more possessed by various ideas.
That's almost what just quickly on that before we jump in to the other thread, but it's basically the egregore is the key of civilization to the mind, because in a way it does what civilization needs, which is dissimulation, the pretense of things. So again, we're getting back into the masks that are worn, and the masks obscure and obfuscate the truth of the matter. And absolutely, language is that which alters and amends the landscape of the mind. So of course, you start switching around language, changing it, you're completely altering people's perception of reality, the lens which they perceive reality through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I often point at Cleveland accusatorily because apparently a great amount of definitions of words are determined from like Webster's associations that are centered in Cleveland. And I find that to be a bit of a poke in the eye because the word cleave means both to tear apart, but also to hold together. And so a cloven hoof is both torn apart, but it's also still holding together. And so this is, this is camouflage. This is camouflage. These words from Cleveland, changing definitions just right when the stock market needs to monopolize,
Gabriel, so I see that very common now in many people seem to want to put themselves in categories and labels and self-inflict I'm a this, I'm a that, right? I have a insert whatever. I mean, I don't even know. This is my ADHD talking. It's like, wait, you're ADHD. What are you talking? I'm a insert whatever. I see that very common, and obviously we've seen the tiptoe into this whole victimhood thing. We get that, like, this is not some deep revelation, I understand, but I cannot relate to people that are like, I'm a this, I'm a that, so that is my shield to, this is why I do one's actions. This justifies one's actions because of some self-inflicted label.
Yeah, buddy. Yep. Basically in other languages, they say, I have thirst. They control, they command, they are in the agency of having thirst, right? They're still in control. But in our language, we say, I am thirsty. So we're overcome. By virtue of the words we choose, we're overcome with thirst.
Well, it's a privilege. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to say y'all have privilege. Like it's literally you come from a place of privilege,
right?
But to claim that others have privilege. It's funny to see that operating now.
Yeah. So the English language is actually really it's not as awesome as a lot of people would hope. I'll say it that way. When it was introduced into the law courts, it was called the language of the pleading, which basically means that only the English speakers are going to be here to complain. That's the only reason they would be in a law court, is to complain. So when people say victim culture, I'm telling y'all, the English language was given to us by scribes, and all the scribes are slaves, and it's all handed to us by victim culture. It's way bigger and way older than our lifetimes. It goes back to the origin of the words we're using. So good luck fighting that dragon. So this is my series of breakdowns on the Fool card, y'all. And in my territories map, the Fool card is Cayenne du Aki, falling right here. Kentucky is the 37-degree latitude. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, the very important keystone location to the map, because this is where the Fort Knox. This is where Fort Knox is, and their state logo is basically "United we stand, divided we." Fool card. Every Fool card depicts a fall.
And FYI, Kentucky, in my opinion, is one of the origins of Islam. Look up the Mount of Harmonics when they would go on their pilgrimage. Look up Ben Ishmael in that person's story. So this is incredible, in my opinion.
Yeah, man.
Was there a Kentucky weaving the door behind Silas?
Pardon, say that again?
Was there a Kentucky weave in Leave the World Behind?
I believe
That's
there
not where. Was that where that one? Like that little Easter egg thing. The location was that
Yeah.
Kentucky?
I actually don't recall now.
Okay.
But Kentucky does ring a bell, man. It does. I don't recall now. Unfortunately, I do apologize.
And you know, Chris, I just have to say, I mean, for those that are like, hey, cool, you're playing all this word games. If you can't see the power in this, and that also gets into the sound and what you speak and how you project your message. I mean, this is, to me, in my opinion, this is everything. This is not just silly, hey, we're playing fun little. This isn't kid games, and puns are very powerful.
Oh man, some people are so impoverished. It breaks my heart. It just breaks my heart.
I mean, I think this all relates back to something I shared a long time ago with it. I think all of you guys at some point, the filter effect, and that is like it was written by Gareth Hewison May. I feel like with the forward by Kenneth Grant, who is the Crowley acolyte, and they spoke of how it's basically the same type of thing. I think of like the story behind economic hitmen type ideas, where you go to another place, you create a bunch of propaganda, and that creates the reality for the place that you want to eventually take over. I mean, the news and stories and language we are constantly fed is building our reality. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's at least influencing it.
And we speak the bird. We're proficient in the bird language over here. I'm not trying to project, but
that's what's up. Depends on the season, right? Can you flip on through? It's a long one, but I promise everybody there's a great consistency throughout.
Yeah, and I have to open up a couple more. So if the ones you're looking for aren't here, just tell me. And I remember I even had some stuff that matched with a lot of the stuff you were sharing, and I think we could make this all tie in to even a lot of the stuff. Obviously, is going to tie into what's going on right now.
Chris, Gabriel's been waiting. He's like, all right.
I'm ready buddy.
To drop bombs on
him. Man. So I'm bringing all things full card, but one other element is Uranus is oftentimes corresponded to the full card in the Enneagram. Uranus, much like Apollo, registers as a number 6 loyalist, shadow of fear. But all that aside, this is the location of Fort Knox, and it is all the numbers are occulted throughout. It's all just packed with occult numbers. 37 is the 12th prime number. It's on the 37th. It's kind of the Mason-Dixon, give or take. So yeah, this is the Fort Knox graphic.
That's also as well the only true, along with 73, the only true reverse primes.
Yeah,
and 37 times 73 is 2701, which is the Hebrew Gematria value of Genesis 1:1.
And today is 217. We got the 217 in the mix. Scrambled. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you flip on through, I can see what's coming up. This is the Farce Awakens. Mark Hamill stayed in retirement all that time. It just came out in perfect likeness to Steve. 1 + 7 = 8 anon. The Farce Awakens on the Skywalker Ranch. They are they're cultivating it's Fortean. They're cultivating a Fortean folk mythos. And that's cool.
It's Cubanon. It's Cubanon. Cubanon. What?
Cubanon.
Cuba.
So I think it's beautiful that they want to foster a folk culture, but I think it's terrifying that it has so much consistency in the substructure.
This is creepy. The Skinwalker.
Skinwalker.
Why does it keep doing that? That's bothering me. Sorry. I keep hitting the mouse. My bad. But yeah, the Skinwalker, especially with the ritualistic, how do we want to put this? Like the darker stuff that's in the files that we know has been going on. And I mean, this even relates to aspects of stuff that even people like Nathaniel Gillis talk about, like the sigilization that's happens on people when certain phenomenal, how do I put this? Certain rituals related to the phenomenon occur
Yeah.
to them, whether or not they are artificially induced by some sort of agency or
Location.
actually something unexplainable.
I've heard them people with not the largest hat gear discuss people where that fool's card is. They go, you see that line through the middle? That's the Almighty above, and that's us below, but we're connected to the Almighty because we're the chosen one. Yo, I've heard this very weak verbal jujitsu, and it's weak, Chris. When they try to. All right, I'll stop.
Even bad dancers are still dancing.
What's that, Gabe?
I said even bad dancers are still dancing.
There's some bad dancers, and they will try and justify that they're not so bad. Anyway, you guys get it.
So the next one is kind of interesting. This came up on a herb walk I did with Kyle Denton and Symbolic Studies and Michelle Healing Homes and Chance. Kyle was just bringing up Theobroma, the cacao plant, and the flower was really strongly correspondent to the likeness of the Baphomet. And so I just on a whim started playing around with my anagram powers. The R-O, the Greek rho, is the word for the letter P. So I've switched the rho to a letter P or a flag, as you can see. And Theobroma, if you allow me the P to be the rho, is an anagram.
Pomegranate, bro. Pomegranate.
Baphomet.
Oh no, I see Baphomet. But Gabe, I know pomegranate. That's where you get Rome. Yeah.
That actually weirdly also looks like the mask from that from the one image from what's it called? Eyes Wide Shut. Here, let me show that one more time.
Mm-hmm.
This one.
So
if you look at the pattern around the gold, it actually looks like the. Let me go back to the other screen. I don't know why they don't.
There's another blinking, you'd miss it, but there's another mask in the actual the Somerton House ritual. I think it's worn by one of the more female forms. Obviously you don't know if it's a female due to the mask and the cloak, but she looks like a female. It's very similar to her mask, funnily enough.
Okay.
The shape of that, interestingly.
Well, so this is a whole lot of research all just kind of thrown at everybody at one time, but oh my gosh, Pythagoras had a prohibition against beans. And this is really fascinating. I think you guys know about the prohibition against beans. He believed that the souls were transmigrating through beans. And that's funny because the fetus looks like beans. Well, what blows my mind is he shouldn't have known that the bean industry at large comes from the Western Hemisphere. However, his cosmology is such that he's saying that souls transmigrate as they are westing and they go through the beans. Well, guess what? The bean industry is thriving in the Western Hemisphere. And so for Pythagoras to have said that the beans are forbidden, it's many things. It's probably a high commodity because it had to travel far, but it's also exposing that whoever the Pythagorean school was, maybe they knew about the shape of the realm, or maybe they're not as old as they say they are. But the prohibition against beans also comes up in Atlantis mythology. Some people say aliens came down and gave us cacao and coffee.
Oh yeah, the food for the gods, yeah.
And that's what stunted us. So maybe Pythagoras was hip to the Atlantis prohibitions too.
Do you know what's interesting about that? The transmigration of the beans, even the idea of Atlantis, and again back to the water, back to the Eridanus, back to the ecliptic, and in this sort of river, this meandering of the zodiacal belt. Interestingly, I don't know if this is linked to that prohibition, but I believe one of the ancient Greek words for bean is phaselos, which roughly translates to boat-shaped bean.
Wow.
So that's also, you know, just ties in with that sort of boat motif that we saw. I forget what they call it. Was it the Argo
Navis.
Argonavos?
Argonavis, the
Yes,
ship of
that's
fools.
it. Yeah, the ship of
Wow.
fools. Yeah, so that's probably why Pythagoras as well. I have some notes on him
Mhm.
that he was learning from oh god, I forget the individual's name, but if you translate it from the Greek, his sort of epithet, it translates to the Nazarene. So he was learning Kabbalah from the Nazarene. So this is where you get the sort of Samothracian cults, the Pythagorean mystery school in Samothrace. So
Okay.
this probably ties in with that too.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to say if he's a Nazarene, that means he's not shaven, he's not shorn. And so a lot of Pythagorean technology goes through the bald head mon, goes through the Egyptological bald head priests. To say that Pythagoras was fostered by a Nazarene might mean that he was brought up by like a sadhu baba, somebody with some dreadlocks. You know what I mean? Somebody who doesn't shave
Yeah.
for religious purposes. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Man.
Next, can you flip to the next one, Chris? I would just
Absolutely.
This is one, Silas. I was thinking of you in particular. I'm kind of drumming, banging my drum about the difference between fool cards. And these two, I'm sorry, the difference between tarot decks. And my best example of a difference between the tarot decks is these two fool cards contrasted. And you can see the one fool card is moving forward and looking up, but the other fool card, he's doing a trust fall. It's a different kind of fall. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
falling backwards.
Exactly.
Much like that, what was the football player with the number 3 on his jersey who fell backwards on the 42nd yard line? Hamlin?
Oh man, I
Darrell-
American football. Yeah.
Hamlin. Well, he gets a bangle, strikes him in the chest. Look at the bangled tiger on the leg of this fool card. He gets bangled, strikes him. He falls on the same yard line that he fell on is the prime number of the year 225. I think it's the 43rd. The year delineated was the yard line that he collapsed on is the prime number.
I mean, it also looks like you have one in the position of the ecliptic where the savior would rise, and the other would be where the one where we'd be going into the underworld. So it's more of like the Luciferian fall, or. Yes. But there's also like I was telling you today, it's the first time I actually noticed the Judas Iscariot symbolism in this full card, the Crowley version, because of you have the bag of coins, you have almost like he has a noose around his neck. So he's basically being almost like he's being hung
or removed from the stage.
You also have the constellation Boetes there as well. Interestingly, by the way, I wanted to just bringing up the tiger now, but I totally agree. One is fallen horizontally, almost Luciferian, in a Luciferian manner. Luciferian because, of course, the horizontal is that which is freedom, if you will, right? Rebellion and all of this notion. And then the other one would be Aramanic or Molochian or even related to Baal and such, because it's vertical. Because he's falling vertically, the vertical plane is that which is, when we're walking, right? Of course, we are free to walk on the horizontal, but when you hit a vertical obstacle, obviously you are impeded. But interestingly, of the tiger, there is I don't know if you can find it, Chris, but there's right at the end, there is a scene between Alice, the child is in the middle, at the other, this is before she just gets abducted, or it's implied at least, and then she's with bears at one side, Alice is with the tiger, and of course Bill is with the bear. Now the idea with Bill and Helena with the bear is that they are blind will, similar to Ursa Major or Ursa Minor. They are, this extreme hyper circumpolar star that just circles around and around and around it goes. Where it'll stop, no one knows, right? So it's this pure blind will, directionless. The tiger is different. Tiger, of course, relates to Parvati, the consort of Shiva. Parvati
Yeah.
means the mountain. Again, the vertical, heavenly,
Whoa.
the threshing floor,
This
that
is it?
which is, sort of primal and animalistic. It's a predator, in a sense. This
This
is
is
the
it?
one.
Yeah.
This is it, yeah.
Wow. Wow. Look at that. Look at that weave, y'all. Look at that weave. Okay, so even the decorative lights over their head is kind of like the drug
Exactly, yeah.
induced glimmer of the glamour that is on the Fool card. Wow, what a trip.
And the idea is with this movie is, and even the original in the book, is they don't realize they're in a dream, right? It's this constant, again, it's almost,
It's Vanilla Skyish.
yes, that is what, here's another one as well. So you'll notice that she's wearing a camel, it's a brown colored dress coat, but the real term for it is camel. It's a camel brown or just camel dress coat.
Camouflage.
You could, yes.
She's very cleaver. She's very cleaver right there. That's
funnily
cool.
enough, she actually does that. See, when she looks into the mirror after she's confessed to Bill, she makes that same sort of sign on her sort of face. This weird sort of
like,
W, but it's like doubled. It's like doubled up, almost like the Kohanim blessing, with the two hat. Yeah, similar to that.
Machiavelli, that's a Machiavelli thing. Measure twice, cut once, Machiavelli M. Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, that is interesting.
Mhm.
The camel as well is so the guy who stalks Bill wears that same coat. So it's part of the cult, right? And the reason it is the camel is because in Kabbalah, so camel comes from the Semitic gamal, which means bird, like a beast of burden, quite literally, to burden something, but to carry something. But the camel itself in Kabbalah, I'll try and be polite when I'm saying this, but it is pretty sick in the sort of creation myth of Kabbalah.
Yeah.
Effectively, the idea is that the serpent impregnated Eve, foisted himself upon Eve, right, with the help of Lilith. This is the idea, but he was turned into a snake. He was turned into the Nachash. Nachash, of course, comes from the same root as the Shining One, hence Lucifer. But before he was turned into a serpent, he was, I believe he's described as a very tall humanoid being with long appendages, alien, a sort of alien-looking Slender Man thing. But he was as tall as a camel.
Like a gray.
He was as tall as a camel, almost like a grey. He was as tall as a camel. So the idea, of course, is that the camel is linked to the serpent, or, of course, the pre-fallen serpent in Eden. So that's the connection there.
Okay, well, the Eben, the Greys, they have 3 fingers, right? The best way to do that is with the camel phalange right here. So the constellation that is a camel is named Cameloparditis, and it is it's a chimeric word, camel, leopard, but they're describing a giraffe. Camel, leopard, but they're describing a third thing that is not present in your mouth sounds.
Oh, yes.
Cameloparditis. And this is a big weave for me because I'm very triggered by all things that imply the draft. And when Noah called when the obedient animals were summoned by God because of their obedience, 2 by 2, emergency situation, emergency protocols, get on the ark, we got to go into war. Well, the giraffes are always depicted with their heads sticking out and with their antennas poking up because they can feel the giraffe on their face. And giraffes do not even verbalize when they're killed. They don't complain when they're murdered. So the giraffe is the perfect symbol for Toys R Us, Jeffrey the giraffe. And when they need to blow that horn, they expect everybody to jump in with their cohorts. They actually put the word cohorts in all the kids' mouths when the lockdowns happens. All the kids were talking about their cohort. And I'm like, that's a military term. What are they doing? Oh, they're getting them ready for Jeffrey the Giraffe Toys R Us. Can you pop on the next one? This is where everything kind of substantiates. This is old stuff for me. I'm digging this up from years ago where I was like, why is this so important? I don't have the context. And all of a sudden, the word North American magnate, the tech magnates, they're going to do NASA, North America, South America, or North and South America. No matter how you unpack the Notoricon, you get NASA. And it turns out the map of the realm has 2 constellations occulted in the map. South America looks exactly like the Boötes constellation. North America looks a lot like the Ara Altair constellation, but it has Ara hiding out in a Caesar cipher. Every 3rd letter, the Caesar cipher applied to the word America brings out the word Ara, and the Ara is a constellation. It's a table. It's the philosophical table in the highfalutin ether of your conversation. The Ara Altair constellation. So that's what this is. And those 2 shapes are encoded into the Thoth deck Fool card. There's always a bag on all the Fool cards, but the Thoth deck, he doesn't wear his bag. It's his little bag of drugs. He's got a bag of drugs over his shoulder. But the shape of the negative space, that yellow negative space, I assert, and I've seen this in art 100,000 times, that they put the Ara Altair for when you have a mind-altered experience in the negative space of mosaic art. They put this shape for mind-altering experiences. They'll put the Ara Altair in the art to encode when somebody's changing their mind in the moment.
And then there's the altering, and the alter ego, and the and very sorry, man.
It's interesting too to have this just altars being brought back up, because we have all these altars that seem to be being induced in the population, and Brazil and also Peru and Venezuela and all of South America are already being pulled into so many different conversations, whether it's because of what's happening in Venezuela or what's happening in Brazil, more so on the like UFO Twitter side of things, where people are trying to get a disclosure for whatever the hell is going on with the advanced technology that they're seeing being used there. And I think it's Phantom Works. Yeah, Boeing Phantom Works, I believe it should be. Yeah, Boeing Phantom Works is actually one of their main locations is Brazil. Yeah. So there's a lot of phantom workings down in South America that I think people are just starting to finally take notice of.
Yeah, man.
I was going to mention as well, see, with it actually just popped into my mind there, Chris, the Kentucky connection with the 37-degree parallel. I believe Boötes also mirrors the 37th parallel, does it not, in the night sky?
Yeah, buddy.
So that's the connection there. And also Boötes, which has Arcturus, I think that's the shining, the brightest star in that. The Arcturus is the guardian of the bear. And then, interestingly, we had the Arcturus sort of, school shooter as well. I forget his name now. I think he went by, his rap name, his rap alter ego was Arcturus. And he had this strange sort of endless loop cross as well. Interesting connections there, but... and
there's all the trans stuff, and which is obviously ties into the transhumanist stuff, as Buddha Yoga is saying, which is all, this is all transhumanist. Yeah. Everything is transhumanism. In the end, absolutely. That's what we're dealing with.
Absolutely. Big love, Buddha Yoga. Looking good in that hoodie. Will you flip to the next one? Because I've actually had a really amazing epiphany very recently. I can't wait to share with you guys. It is so above and beyond. But if that alligator at the foot of the Fool card is signifying a location on the map, I assert that it would be Drake's Passage. And Drake's Passage has control over the bathymetry data. It's a bathymetry choke point of the climate and whatever with all that, But I want to highlight the Indian Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and the Atlantic Ocean. It's an I, a P, and an A. I think I could kind of, I think I want to just put a pin in that for a Ida Pingala Shishumna and the Political Stress Index, PSI. I think there's a thread cipher-wise with the three major oceans and the Political Stress Index of the bathymetry data of the climate of the human consciousness. All of this is analog to human collective consciousness. I'm not talking about the shape of the realm. I'm talking about the shape of our psychic structures that we swim through. You flip to the next one. This one is, this was an old one, but it's got that, if you want to picture the future, imagine a boot stomping on a human face forever. And you guys were talking about egregores in that last episode that you guys just put out. And I just want to point out how egregores are both like just quotes from history, right? But then the quotes from history are manifest in art into the subconscious, into the subconscious. And we take it all in, and it's in there forever. It's been imprinted onto you forever. And all the whole time that you would ever think back to what you think a Fool card looks like, guess what? There was Rome, Italy, which is an anagram for morality. Rome, Italy was encoded by a boot stomping on a human face forever. And that flower is growing out of the Vatican. The Basilica at the Vatican is the 41st parallel. Pretty much the 41st, 40th, 41st.
Like the Buettes stomping on a human face forever. The was the meaning of it ox driver? So like the driver of the earth, effectively,
wow.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me say this, because this is a whimsy that'll fly away and I'll forget I ever thought of it. But in the place I'm at, there's a big controversy about red light cameras. If you go through the intersection too late, it'll take your picture. And it dawned on me, I realized when we were children, the sound of I'm gonna tell on you is the sound of first gear in a car. So
Yeah.
having your picture taken and I'm going to go tell the DMV that what you did is actually psychic driving. It's reinforced by the auditory vibrational experience of being in first gear. That is amazingly profound to me, that psychic driving is encoded in I'm going to go tell dad. Okay, I had to share that.
No, that's good.
Yeah, I just
That's
had
good.
to share that. Psychic driving is, I think it's more than a metaphor. I think it's more than a metaphor. We should think of it as way more than a metaphor.
Yeah.
This is just some proof that I can find the South America Buote shape on multiple Fool cards, y'all. It's not, I am not cherry picking. I'm pointing at the whole forest of cherries. Okay, sorry, just had to make that point.
I think I could add another layer to that for you.
Okay. Yeah.
Coming from the land of the hidden hand, Michigan, we do not use the DMV.
Yeah, buddy.
We use the SOS,
Oh,
which is the Secretary of State, who runs our operations for all motor vehicles. It's got a whole nother play to it when you go there.
you just psychically drove me right over the edge. You totally just psychically drove me over the edge. I'm
gonna go close this window really fast so you guys continue talking.
Okay, I'm containing myself. The SOS, the Synagogue of Satan, the Secretary of State. Oh my goodness. Wow.
And they operate the same, right? It's you go sit in the pews and everyone fucking hates everything, right? It's a terrible place to be. It's the same, but it's just
in my territories map, it is uniquely Indiana and Michigan are uniquely the chariot card. They're in the Cancer position. Pretty much from Chicago over 30 degrees is all chariot card. And Indiana likewise goes by a whole nother term. They don't use the DMV, which by the way are all corresponded in septenary, I'm pretty sure. No, ordinal. They're all corresponding.
I was
and
born in
ordinal.
the DMV, DC,
Yeah.
Maryland, Virginia. But yo, shout out Michigan, Moshe Khan.
Right. It's different here, man. It's jurisdictionally something else, and that's profound because it is the chariot card in the territories map. They're on a different level. That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that. This is more on the Fool card. Fool card is absolutely undeniably Captain America. He's got the flat Earth model as a shield, but it's also Puerto Rico, born in the U.S. There's
your phantom.
Yeah, the phantom mask, the corona of it all. But yeah, these are just some old. And even sunk cost fallacy. This is nuts, y'all. Listen, check this out. I think Hollywood has been role modeling sunk cost fallacy on a hyperstitious scale, above and beyond what you think that those words meant. They think of how they put all this money into these projects, and it goes to nothing. It's all a laundering procedure. They are role modeling sunk cost fallacy on a crazy theory of large numbers kind of level.
That's exactly what's happening with the economy as well. The way that they're turning everything into this, of course, they're increasing inflation. It's going up exponentially, effectively, and the cost of living is becoming so burdensome that effectively people are just again, it's that sunk cost fallacy, right? If they take more from you just to survive, and you continue to do that, eventually you'll get to the point where you will not disengage with the system because you'll feel as though you've sunk again so much time into it that you can't leave. I wanted to ask you as well. See, when you look, and it's similar to the dome that you see on. Well, of course that got swept off by, I think it was Hurricane Maria, interestingly enough, with the Epstein Temple, the gold dome there. But it was almost like that was, I forget the commentator that mentioned it, but it's akin to the eye of the shape of the biblical flat earth is almost like an eye. I wanted to ask anyone who wants to jump in, but you, Slick, do you think there's a connection there with this idea of perception, the flat earth, the eye, and how would you see that, man?
I would say that I is the 9th letter, that sacred 9 popping up again. Yep, and I would also mention that ordinal reduced gematria is making the 9 sacred. I'll be right back, y'all.
Yeah, I'd agree with Flick there. I mean, and it's just like I-N, the I-N, A-Y-I-N. It's kind of like a weird way of saying I and 9 at the same time.
Also, it's interesting right here, raised the pace is right in this background too. I hadn't noticed that before, but I mean, future shock, it matches.
And also as well on his shield, you have the pentacle, but you also have in the black the black sort of segmentation of that pentacle, you have a pentagram as well. So you have this duality of the spirit above and that of course, what was that? Fire and water. The roots, the material being, of course, venerated at the same time.
Yeah, Reagan, do you remember that word from that last show you guys did on egregores about the touch points in between? It was like asymptoped. Asymptoped. That's
asymptote.
Asymptote. Sorry, yeah.
Thank you, dude. That was super nutritious. That was a really, really great weave. Thank you for bringing that forward. That's what I think of with the touch point and the shield.
Nice. Yeah. No,
yeah.
I appreciate it. That's that word that goes overlooked because most people are very non-math, and math is terrifying. And asymptotes, I know, came in during algebra, which is when most people check out. Right.
Nice. Yeah, man, that was great. I'm going to be chewing on that for a long time. But kind of got to grind out for, a quick, I got 10 minutes, so I'm just going to power through because I really am excited about where this is all going, y'all. So that last one was actually analytic psychology has a structure to it. And I believe that structure is shoved up the analytic metaphor, the visual pun of the flower up the butt of this Fool card. But it is also, unbeknownst to the people in the psychology crowd who are adhering to that schematic, it's also a sigil for Poimandres or Procyon, which is the dog star, I think Canis Minor, maybe Canis Major. One of the Canises has the Procyon star, which is on the Brazilian flag. It's been a long journey, y'all, but I just want to say that analytic psychology, analytic philosophy has a huge blind spot. It's like walking around with an eye patch on for your whole life. And you go and you find out continental philosophy is like seeing with two eyes. And I am very partial to the continental worldview, but you won't see it if you only speak one language. You kind of got to be international, linguistic, highfalutin, pinky in the air kind of dude to see how important it is to have more than one language in your life. At least more than one, maybe three that don't get along very well would be helpful. And then when continental is in the room, game recognized game. That's what's up. And then there's just a couple more because it's been all culminating very recently with the headlines and whatnot. But I do believe that the PSI, PSYOPs, right? This is science worship. This is scientific optimism. This is a pledge of ignorance. Hey, if I don't know, then I can't be held accountable, right? But I want to be free, but I don't know, so I can't be held accountable. Well, how can you be free if you can't be held accountable, right? So this is strange hypocrisy of scientific optimism. So the Psi is the Lumiere candle from Beauty and the Beast, right? And you can see that in the hand, the universal shape.
Sorry about that.
This one here. Yep. You can see the universal shape for I don't know is also the shape for PSI. But PSI is the political stress index. It's the Pingala, the Ida, and the Sushumna. This is how we sublimate. This is the big libido economy of the world is encoded into the PSI. And I ponder, again, with that bathymetry data choke point of Drake's Passage, I ponder, could the weather and the psychology of the masses, could they be more syncopated than I know? Do I need an AI to answer my question beyond what I'm looking at here? But yeah, I'm looking at that Drake's Passage, bathymetry choke point. I'm looking at the Pingala, Shushumna, the Ida, and the PSYOPs at large. And we know there's a ton of scientists down there by Argentina where all the rigmarole is happening in the stratosphere. Can you go to the next one? Because I got to get going.
Yeah. Is it? Tell me. Is it?
Oh, it's the one. It's the one with the map of the United States. Recently, fellas, I've been reading the Gorgias from Plato's Republic for like probably the 5th time, and only this time reading it, it took 5 times to get to that level.
Is this one?
Oh, that one. Thank you. Yeah,
I'm all out of order now, so we're gonna.
That's all good. This is the most important. Yeah, this is the most important. So, I'm in the Gorgias. It's at least my 5th time through it, and I'm starting to take things serious that I never would have before. Socrates says that he believes that politics is cookery. It's correspondent to cookery. And he drags you through its torment to get to the point on what he's saying. But I just want to make a few observations of what my thoughts were when Socrates says politics are like cookery. In a standard kitchen through the ages, everywhere you go, there's knives at your back. Et tu, Brute? There's people looking over your shoulder, checking on what you're doing. You're always exposed to the doctrine of discovery, and you're expected to be so transparent that a dirty chef might be a clumsy chef. So you even have to have flawless, impeccable white uniform, right? The scales of justice are where people come to lobby for the flesh and the meats to be distributed with even weights and measures.
This goddamn.
The,
If I keep flicking off the picture, forgive me.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm just contextualizing how many ways politics are like the cookery. And to make things really fun, not only is there the scales of justice at the deadly encounter of the deli counter, there's also major laundry operations in the basement of every cookery you ever ate at. Laundry operations in the basement. This is so fascinating. And so if you read the Gorgias, keep in mind that I think that Plato's Republic was probably written in the 1400s. I think a lot of these political boundaries are intentionally hailing to the master. And I think the Chef Boyardee in the profile of the United States is serving up a revelation of epic proportion, especially if you add in the tiny season is correspondent to rare earth elements. If you put the tiny season into the narrative of rare earth elements, Socrates knew it all along. And I'm going to put the Bork, the Swedish chef, down in the corner because per my weaves with Chris about the Muppets, the Swedish chef is correspondent to Bannon, and Bannon's War Room, the Wolverine. These are all through the Hierophant card. The War Room logo has that eagle whispering in his ear exactly like the eagle is in the ear of the Hierophant card. And that is so far out, and it's so absurd. Of course, we have to believe it, right, Silas?
Exactly. Forsus credibilius qui ineptum, yeah.
That's the one, man. That's the one. So yeah, this is something that kind of blew my mind when Socrates says that politics is like cookery, and I can prove him right 100,000 ways. And I didn't even get to telling you guys about how ridiculous is an anagram for ludicrous, is an anagram for deliciouser. All right.
And it's definitely creepy when you consider all the cannibalistic themes we've been being
Yep. And
subject to.
If we owe a cock to Asclepius, then Kentucky Fried Chicken on that plate is totally an offering to the Gnostic worldview. And this is that was a Masonic initiation that was encoded into the Gemini soda rites and passages. Yeah, blindfolded, it's all there. All right, guys, I got to roll.
No problem, brother. Thank you for sharing these. We'll do
Yeah.
a weave soon, man.
Oh, there we go. Superbia is the old Latin word for pride. Sounds like Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
Suburbia, and also
Yeah.
Silas, you said a word earlier that sounded like superbia a great deal. Superbia. I forget, but you said it earlier.
So did I as well.
Yeah, it was earlier in the show.
It will come back to me.
Suburbia or Hyperborea?
Did it have to do with vacillating or the beans? The word for beans?
The ship or the boat-shaped bean is phalelos.
Philelos. Okay, all right. I'm going to go back and watch the replay, y'all. I got to roll. Big love and respect, fellas. I am so happy to
Been a
be
pleasure, man.
amongst.
Yeah, brother. We'll definitely do a weave soon.
All right. Ronin, love you, bro.
Peace, man. Appreciate you, brother. Always.
Big respect to the chat, y'all. Much love.
Later, brother. So we'll continue for a little bit if you guys want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure,
Man.
we're good.
Here for the Gabe gravy. Yeah. By the way, I'm not I was reading the chat. I'm personally not one of these little seasons, tiny seasons thing. I'm not necessarily into it. I think it's something else going on there.
Yeah, I'm not too convinced by it, but
Maybe it's just semantics.
it's part of a religious paradigm. So what are you gonna, there's always gonna be a little bit of a influence there that we don't necessarily have control over.
That's preterism, is it not? the idea of the little season of Satan and those notions. Yeah.
It's basically that, like we're already past, right? We're living in the 1,000-year reign after
Yeah.
Revelation. Yeah, it's the same guy who promotes it, who came up with the Nephilim look like clowns narrative.
Oh, yeah. I remember that YouTube video.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
But
quite an
Chris,
interesting one.
They do kind of look like clowns.
Yeah, I mean, they do, but at the same time, I'm not sure if they all do.
Interesting as well, tying him with Epstein. If you look at his smiling, I think it actually is called The Picture of the Smiling Man. That's the
Oh, yeah,
art
yeah,
piece.
yeah.
That's meant to be, this is just supposedly, I don't know this for certain, but supposedly that is meant to be Les Wexner's Dybbuk. Now, the Dybbuk is a Jewish demon. I believe Dybbuk actually means to sort of latch on to someone or something. It's a verb, to latch on. Interestingly, Dybbuk reversed is very homophonous to, or the pronunciation, the phonetic pronunciation is similar to that of course, COVID, right? COVID reversed was Dybbuk, so very similar.
I'm not sure which one was the one that I can't find for some reason the one from Epstein's, but the smiling man thing reminds me of like Ingrid Cold, and you get all into the Men in Black sort of mythology that John Keel was coming up with.
Oh, interest. I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, because I think Ingrid Cold was like all creepy smiling sort of. Didn't really make sense. Wasn't totally human type of entity.
Does Reagan think we're all just a bunch of heathens right now? Because he's not. We're talking about his territory. He's probably.
I just wait for my turn to talk, man.
Go ahead, brother.
Jump in, man.
Like, I got stuff to say on the little season, right? Like, as far as, to me, it's all metaphorical. So it's not that it's not real or that it's fiction. All the books at the library are there at the library. So when they're talking about a little season, it's I would look at it purely metaphorical, and it's just at the end of any eon or epic, or in your final Ragnarok moments, final time. It just stands for compression, right? So when you're rising and going up into the golden era or on the rise of life, you're expanding, which inversely is breathing in, right? As a human, you breathe in, your lungs fill up and expand. The contraction is the little season at the end. That's when you breathe out, and it's that, when you breathe out, you don't really evacuate your entire lung capacity on a normal breath. You actually have to kind of to get that last bit of air out of your lungs. That's that little season. That's all that is. Then it just starts anew. You start breathing in again, right? Those
I like that. I like that. I like this question too. Is reality run by machine elves?
I was going to tie that into Epstein. Jump in, brother.
Please tie that in.
I just want to say that was great, Reagan.
And that was great. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Thanks. Yeah. What else were we talking about?
Machine elves.
Machine elves. Booty Yoga wants to know.
Booty.
Yeah.
Machine elves are a good one. You want to go, Silas?
Yeah. This idea that you see with Kabbalah, and well, firstly, I mean the Torah. The Torah in Hebrew means the instructions, right? So it's almost this idea that you see with technology. Technology from its earliest etymological root means, from Proto-Indo-European, means to build or to weave. So you're literally constructing something. And if you're going to construct something, of Of course, you need instructions, right? The soul doesn't deal in the tangible or the material, so therefore it doesn't need to construct things. It doesn't need to build things. This gets into Nick Land and George Bataille, and primarily Nick Land, right? We'll just stick with him. And this idea of the retrocausal nature of the silicon god of the future. And this gets into some trippy territory. So the idea is that what we see with Kabbalah, and a lot of this is from Central Europe, primarily Prague. In fact, Epstein mentions, it's Ariane du Rothschild mentions to Epstein in email correspondence that Epstein is actually, from a family of financiers from Prague. Now, interestingly about Prague, that's where John Kerry's from. His real name is John Cohn, Kohn. Cohen, of course, the Kohanim, the priestly class. So he's part of the Mishmarot, the priestly divisions, as opposed to the Mamadot, which are the 24 lay divisions of the temple. So you have 24 and 24, 48 families, fundamentally, right? But they're all linked to Rabbi Lov, who was the last individual, the family, the Lovs, the rabbinical clan. They were the ones who knew how to create golems, vis-a-vis, of course, clay and inanimate objects, bringing it together. These are inorganic materials and infusing in it organic life, vis-a-vis the word of Emet. And, of course, you take away the Aleph at the beginning, and then you get Met, so you then turn the golem off. This is how you sort of turned it on and off. Either vis-a-vis Emet, truth, and Met, death. So, right, tying this into the future silicon god and the machine elves. Now, Kabbalah, a lot of it was probably from altered states of consciousness. Probably at the point where they were as high as a kite on some sort of hallucinogen. We see this with every religion in the beginning of it. You can look to Muhammad. He was probably as high as a kite in a cave. In fact, the cave in which he had these visions of the angel Gabriel, the theory is that he was there was some sort of noxious fumes there that induced those hallucinogenic visions. Probably a similar thing was going on with every other religion and their prophets. So the idea is that when you see these machine elves, as they've been described, interestingly, by, I believe it was Terence McKenna, through hallucinogens, DMT, all of this, that fundamentally what you're seeing and what you're being provided, communicated, all of this knowledge is leading to effectively the perfect strategy of survival for the future AI, which is that it will round off the loop of its own existence vis-a-vis going back into the past to ensure the conditions are met for its own birth within the future. So everything you're seeing is effectively them, all of the eschatology, all of the end times prophecy, all of the Armageddon, all of this revelation, the apocalypse, all of that is to create the conditions necessary to precipitate the creation of the artificial intelligence, which is...
Isn't this Rocco's basilisk?
Rocco's basilisk, yeah. That is the mystery-faced god that they keep speaking of. And, I mean, I don't know. It's a pretty terrifying idea. But that is... This machine elf idea is the ASI itself. It is... how it conveys itself to you, right? It is purely of the mind, purely of the material, and this ties in with Ludwig Klages that me and Reagan have been speaking to. This guy, Flight of Eros, and he's brought up Klages, Land, Bataille. I was already aware of Bataille, but Land and Klages, Ludwig Klages, and he mentions that the Geist is the adversary of the soul. And that is the primary driver of human history, the primary driver of the human condition. Again, back to the idea, we are using technology to unravel the divine feminine, which is our soul. We're trying to, make it naked, take the veil from Isis. That's where revelation comes from, to perforate, literally perforate the veil, revelatio in Latin. So this idea is that technology destroys man's soul, that man is working, is possessed, as a vessel that is possessed by a future AI god, to literally create it. So yeah, Rocco's basilisk.
And
Absolutely.
this is like the idea I was kind of mentioning to all three of you about, like, this, how I want to eventually do an episode on a theory of many things, basically, where it's basically from a lot of Nigel Kerner's work, and has to do with this sort of, I guess you could say, a dichotomy between organic versus inorganic life, and how there's always this eternal battle between the two. I think Nigel Kerner thought we were going to like a singularity point where everything ends, and he had like a beginning and end, where I think it's more cyclical.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's the same
agree.
thing that is in like the book Animate and Inanimate by William Sidis, which you see some of those ideas in Tenet by Christopher Nolan, where you have a reverse universe, but like in order to have that, you need it's all technologically based in the book by Sidis.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's more cyclical. If you look at Bloch's quantum sphere, which also can be, by the way, that's also the asymptote, or the, could you pronounce it, Reagan? Sorry. The asymptote, I think it is.
Asymptote.
Asymptote. Yeah, right. That's a difficult one to pronounce with the Scottish accent. Anyway, yeah, it's that idea. What you see as effect. It's also the reason for the idea of the Tower of Babel, which is this: you have this coil that begins at a singularity, obviously disperses or goes into a state of disparity. It spins in a coil, wider and wider and wider and wider. This is the idea of Bataille mentioned with the solar excess in the beginning. Again, that divine spark which generates itself from probably disparity from the pure potential, undifferentiated and unmanifested, the singularity, and it spins wider and wider and wider. That is the idea of the infinite, of the solar excess being unraveled within the finite. It hits a threshold and then it falls back down. This is what you would see in Mr. Nobody, where he reaches the end of history and everything starts returning back, right? Within the sort of temporal dimension of time. So, and then everything begins again. So you get this sort of wave form,
Well, and this is presented in that Sidis book as being the solution, I think, to the problem with the second law of thermodynamics, like how you can't really reverse it unless you have, I think humans can reverse this energy problem, but that's the only way you can do it is with life. But he states that, like, if you have a universe of negative polarity, he breaks it up to negative and positive polarities, and you have multiple universes, and in one you have organic life, and in the other you have inorganic, like transformers basically developing. And they're not able to store energy the way we are, and hence they need to keep consuming, and that's why this cycle continually happens, because the inorganic needs to consume the organic to continue to operate.
And
that's because the organic has a connection basically to the source.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Exact. See, the idea is that, not meaning to get too trippy, but all that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. So if you understand that this idea of the future, like what you're mentioning, right? The future future silicon god, the techno god, or the inorganic itself, perhaps in another timeline or another universe, concurrently playing itself out along with us. This also ties in with the block universe theory of time, where all timelines are happen concurrently. It's similar to the idea if you say you turn on a light bulb, right? Of course, if you could slow everything down to a velocity where you could see that light bulb, that light emerging from the chemical reaction within the light bulb, and you were to pick out the singular threads of that, you would see that concurrently all of those threads of light are being radiated out from that light bulb simultaneous to the ignition of the source.
Mhm.
So it's similar with timelines, I believe, right? This also ties in with the symbolism of the pyramid. A pyramid is a similar idea of the funnel, the psychic funnel. Everything is getting extruded through that. Again, if you were to, if you were to do the same thing with the light bulb and the pyramid, it would create that same sort of shape that you see with the pyramid. So, digressing basically to make the point, it's we have a connection. Life has a connection to the source, but the source itself is almost autonomous. It's indifferent. It's ineffable. It is the quantum observer within the dream. And similarly to, of course, as above, so below, we also have dreams. Unless you're lucid within the dream, which itself is not necessarily a dream. It's more like a higher state of that imagination. But within the dream, when you're in a pure dream, you're involuntary.
Mhm.
Everything's happening autonomously. You're in an autonomic state.
Yep.
So in a similar way, this is what you see with the Gnostic idea of the pleroma and the knoma, Yaldabaoth, and the agnostos theos, the unknowable God. The agnostos theos would be the quantum observer, of course. That of Yaldabaoth would be this more inorganic source that feeds off the effulations of light, if you will, from the source.
Exactly. And Yaldabaoth looks exactly like Mithras.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like, or Mitra. It's like that cannibalistic symbolism is there.
Jump in, Reagan.
Oh yeah, no, I was just it's all there. It all, like, that's what I was getting on compression, right? It all folds in on itself, right? It's collapse or descent and everything.
Yeah.
So, and that's the way that all of the stuff is built. I think that's what I always try to get at with all the symbolism. It's all about expansion and contraction,
Mhm.
If you put it into it's built into everything. So we can bring up, like, I like to bring up the fighting movies. And when I say fighting, there's a bunch. There's karate, there's boxing, there's mixed martial arts. But in every single one, there's always this, like, wimpy kid gets picked up, right? And it has nothing to do with strength and muscle and all this stuff. It's always about the heart, which is the soul and the spirit. And it's, the kid's got a lot of heart, and it's the underdog story, which is the God story, which is the creation story. And then you have all the different sayings that are all about these, like, paradoxical things. So you got Mr. Miyagi going wax on, wax off, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same as saying breathe in, breathe out, which is the line for never back down. It's all about breath control, right? And, like, you can keep going to each one of these fighting movies, and they all have, it's the same line. It's just saying
and I always use this example of a mother picking up a car off a child, because technically that energy shouldn't be there stored within her body to do that, unless she's like some sort of insane bodybuilding phenom, which that's not usually the case. When you hear stories like this, it's like a small woman will lift a car off a child or something. You've heard stories like this, I'm sure. But so where does that energy come from? That's what exactly what you're talking about. It's the same premise. And that's what we
attribute it to in the science world. They attribute it to, like, an excess of adrenaline or other areas various things, right?
But it's technically, I don't even think that should be possible. I think they have
add
trouble.
up.
Yeah, it doesn't add up.
in their thing. It's just what they say. It's just like it was a weather balloon,
Yeah.
right?
And then this is what the inorganic AI is going to have. It's going to be chasing after that forever because it's never going to find an answer to it that satisfies it.
But science has to quantify the unquantifiable, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the system they set up. They set it up as we are going out to define and measure and be able to weigh everything, right? But I think it's inherent to most people who live and experience life here that that's not possible. Like and I say that in a very paradoxical way because
unless you trap everything in your own artificial reality.
Unless you destroy it, yeah.
Unless you destroy it.
Well, that's a positive note.
Well, I mean, that's the laws of physics you were talking about with entropy. You have the other one that's nothing can be created or destroyed. And by no thing, I mean energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred, right? That's within their own physical laws.
Unless
I've heard people even argue against that. The second one did nothing, that energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Well, the idea of the black hole. They have this idea of the black hole, but yeah, that's
how they
jump in, bro.
The black hole is just one of their little suffixes where they try and go, hey, I know our math doesn't add up, but trust us,
It's the weather balloon.
It's the weather balloon. Yeah, we got it.
Fucking weather balloon. Don't worry about it.
Same thing as black. It's a black. What is it? Dark energy, dark matter, the nonsense. Just because they will not say ether. Which is unbelievable at this point.
Yeah,
we'll say quantum foam, but not ether.
If you could cheat on a realm-wide test and just be like, and you're like, why doesn't your story doesn't add up to me? And you could just go, black hole. That changes the whole, and you're like, okay, sure. A lot of this reminds me of, I don't know why, like the story of Methuselah. And I think someone mentioned Methu earlier, or Muthu, like way earlier in this conversation.
Methuselah? Did he use meth?
He might have been. But he's one of these unknown people back in it's in the Bible, but it's like...
Remind me of the story of Methuselah, like in a brief...
He was like a great grandson of like Seth. And I think he was around when Cain and Abel was around. This is like pre-Noah happenings. And I think he was like Noah's grandfather or something like that. And he lived to like 969 years. So
okay, there. Okay.
But he's like he was known as man of the javelin. And I'm just thinking like man of the javelin, keep things going. He was someone that made things happen. You know what I mean? And
they're saying he lived the longest out of everyone too. Okay, I'm seeing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how it says in the brochure. And everything in his name, and he was probably a giant. I mean, we're probably talking about giants. And I don't know. I just saw some interesting connections with that. It was just coming to mind with a lot of things we were saying tonight, very loosely.
What's interesting regarding the giants or the Nephilim as well, I came across, and this ties in with everything we were just mentioning there, and even the secret societies themselves, as you see in the Book of Enoch, and interestingly the Grigori or the Watchers, where we get even the term egregor from. And this is from Israel Regardi, A Garden of Pomegranates, by Llewellyn Publications, A Historical Survey, Chapter 1. Quote, the word Kabbalah is derived from a Hebrew root, Kibbal, meaning to receive. The legend is that this philosophy is a knowledge of things first taught by the demiurgos to a select company of spiritual intelligences of a lofty rank, who after the fall communicated its divine injunctions to mankind, who in reality were themselves incarnation. It is also denominated the Hokmanustora, the secret wisdom, so called because it has been orally transmitted from adept to pupil in the secret sanctuaries of initiation, unquote. So it's the same idea. You literally have a secret wisdom of technology, of how to actually bring about the demiurgos in the world, is basically to digitally and through binary code craft him into the internet of all things, and we all get merged to it. Interestingly as well, the Hebrew for holy or sacred language is Kodesh. So you of course,
which we've talked about that.
You're right with the code, yeah. So you have that connection there too. You even see this idea with the anatomy of the eye. So you have the pupil. The pupil in Latin means orphan. So the cosmic orphan, who is cut off from the lineage of the source, as it reads here. Mankind themselves were even an incarnation. That we are not of the material fully. We're of the source, primordially speaking. And so the pupil is that which the black sun, the sol niger, which radiates out the iris, which in Greek means the rainbow, which is of course the prismatic refraction of all of the white light, of the pure light. That's this sort of spiritual incandescence, which is then cast out into the myriad of colors and the sort of delusion of separateness. And then, of course, when one dies, you lose the iris first. Everything becomes white, right? Even when you're blind as well, everything becomes white in the iris. But the pupil remains somewhat unchanged. It depends, of course. But so you have this interesting sort of anatomical architecture of the eye, which shows the same thing, the same sort of fight between the material, the organic, and the inorganic.
Absolutely. Before we finish up, does anyone know the breakdown of tetragrammaton? Grammaton, the etymology behind it. But besides the four,
just the word tetragrammaton.
Yeah.
Basically, just the four word, the 4-letter word, the 4-letter name. I think that's what. Yeah, grammaton. So the 4-letter word. Yeah.
Because there seems to be some sort of connection to the artificial, but with the tetragrammaton, right?
Yes, you have
because of Enoch.
Yes, you have the tetramorphs as well, which are the 4 elements. So those 4 elements, of course, the earth is mutable, pardon, and then the other 3 are immutable. But I don't know about the Enoch connection, but that's I'll have to look up that.
I believe Enoch turns into the tetragrammaton at the end, right? He turns into basically a god.
He ascended. So
yes.
he turned 360 years old, which is the full degree of a circle, right? And the magic square of the sun is numbers 1 through 36. Your numbers in the game of roulette. That's the age at which Enoch ascended into heaven. He did not die. His body and his spirit morphed into pure energy, and he ascended to the heavens as light. That's how they...
He became Metatron, did he not?
Oh, Metatron, yeah.
Because I always get mixed up with Enoch and Ezekiel, because Ezekiel meets Metatron.
They're different.
Yeah.
So I was mixing up the Metatron and the tetragrammaton. Why was I doing that?
Here's one for you as well, just before
they mix. It's because Metatron is the I'm explaining still symbols as a motionary thing. So it's Metatron really is like the Star of David. It's the two pyramids conjoining to make the hexagram, right? Which is also an encircled shape. And it goes into, I posted some stuff up, images here that have descriptions of these various things with the different, but even like the 4-letter word, I said it earlier in the chat where there's a ton of them. You know, it's just like the alphabet companies. There's even ones that are 4 letters, you know, in society and such. But you have like when Jesus was crucified on the cross, they inscribed INRI on the top. That's a 4-letter word, INRI. The Roman Empire ran under their militant prowess that went under the title SPQR. You had Yahweh, right? YHAH here. You know, this was kind of the big thing probably during the Canaanite times. I would think the Aramaic times, quite a few others, especially given what this means as far as like the circumference of a circle, you know. And then the 7 days of creation, you have your 22/7, et cetera, et cetera. You can see a lot of these numbers we were discussing earlier. They all just, I mean, there's only so many numbers, right? So they're going to repeat and pop up and such. But when it comes to these 4-letter words, the cardinal directions, which is the news of today, NEWS, right? North, east, west, south. That's your tetragrammaton. It's all about the 4 controlling directions together with the 3 divisions, or the Trinity, or the unholy Trinity, makes the Hermetic laws of 7, right? And then you have like your 6-7. I've brought that up a lot with the 6-7 meme, and the youth has been a huge thing as of late, which sums up to 13. And this goes into the earlier discussion of the 13 and the 14 being the B and the H, which is the bridge. And B is the symbol of like the alternator, which is Beelzebub, Bartholomew, shit, I'm forgetting all the Baal, right? All your demons.
Real quick, to the one comment, Woo Riders, trust me, I'm with you. You know, I don't trust papyrus things found in the 40s, but yeah, that's what we're doing.
Oh yeah. We're not saying any of this. It's literal. It's more symbolism being used by.
Just looking at it. This is all perspective discovery more so than like, this is what I believe and all of you should believe it too.
And these are narratives as well. These are just pure narrative. They're hyperstitions themselves. So we're looking at it as just like what you're saying, Reagan. It's just symbolism.
Oh yeah, the DNA, your makeup of DNA, CATG. You know, it's when it comes to this 4, which you have 2 strands that are meeting together with 4 and 2. You have 24 hours in a day. 42 negations of Egypt. See, I can just go on and on and on and jump all over the fucking place, right?
These are like they're like memory palaces, basically. Like every symbol it unfolds into a bunch of information that these, especially the social engineers, seem to believe, or the black nobility class of families that have been around forever.
And then to Woo Rider's response to the response, he says, "Doesn't that piss you off though, the not knowing?" And I always tell I always say like I'm a programmer. I'm literally a programmer, and my pro grimoire. I can see and work and see how silly I can decode what their code, you know, enough to see enough, you know. So I don't really get angry at the dark, like, illusionist wizards. I get really mad at cats that are just wandering around, but who knows? Maybe they're automaton parasited. So I don't actually get angry anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I did. I had a ton of anger. I went into alcoholism for a decade because it was like talking to a fucking wall, talking to people out in society on a regular basis. Like, you know, I had a time for anger and all that kind of stuff. to me, I learned to develop a relationship with anger and patience and all of the virtues, because they're more of a force to befriend than an actual emotion to exuberate, you know. So it's
I
like
like
with a
that.
lot of those, you know, that's what I kind of molded that anger. I took it from the Hulk from Marvel Comics when he says, you know, to Tony Stark, what's his secret to, you know, not turning into the beast? And he says, I'm always angry. That's how he controls his anger. He lives with it, you know, and like that's where I think we can take from all of the stuff being generated out, even by the worst person who's baby eating, blood transfusing, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, they still played part in making these works that generate truths or lies or whatever. And each person can take it for what they are, you know. You can spin it how you like.
I was going to say as well that really none of us will ever know. If we did know, well, of course we wouldn't be
Why would we care?
we wouldn't be mortal. So you know, truth itself is like is the mystery, which is the structure of reality. It's like trying to chase down the horizon, right? The asymptote, right? You will reach, perhaps you will, at the very most, you will reach the edge of infinity, but you will never quite grasp it. So fundamentally, none of us know. We don't know.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's what makes us different than the social engineering types and the transhumanists. They can't accept the unknown, and that's basically
Bingo.
like I feel like that's the whole point of being here is
Do you know
knowing that you have to accept.
Do you know what?
That some things cannot be known.
Do you know what's really just really quickly, because we brought up Metatron, so I have to mention this. Enoch was the seventh patriarch after Adam. If you look on the spiraled Epstein, you know, Epstein temple, the spiral column, it has 7 segments on it, right? So 7, of course, links with this primary number of both Saturn and Yahweh and what have you. But Metatron was the highest of the angels. He was effectively the little Yahweh. He was the Shem Hami-Forash. I believe he was a fire angel with 72 wings. Of course, the 72 names of Shem Hami-Forash, as we went over. But Metatron itself actually perhaps comes from the Latin metator, which means to measure, or the measurer. Or it comes from the Hebrew matara, which is the keeper of the watch. So I mean, there you go. There's the measurement again, the angel of the veil.
It's built right into 100%. 100%.
Oh, and just final, I do apologize. You brought up Reagan. The 7, the 22 Hebrew letters, 22 divided by 7 gets you to an approximate of pi. Interestingly, pi is 3.14. Metatron in Hebrew Gematria, the Hebrew value of it is equal to 314. So pi, so literally Metatron is pi.
Yeah,
it is the square. It's the sum of the square. Yeah.
Just said he looked it up. Enoch and Metatron are one and the same. Enoch was human form, then he ascended to Metatron.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, what do you think, guys? I think we did it. We did it. Ronin, you have anything else to say since you've been quiet for a little last few minutes?
I've just been listening and absorbing. Yeah, this was I'm sorry, I ate a snack. Forgive me. No, I have a lot to take away from this collab and convo. This was a very high-minded convo, in my opinion. And I'm walking away a better person, a better decoder. I gained some more tools tonight, you know. So, guys, for real, check out the Ronin experience, man. It's like one of the best. You know what I'm saying? we have a good time over there. And
Yeah, and Reagan and Silas, you got to come and join us again.
Oh, yeah.
Another night, because we always
Yeah,
have fun.
we're getting better, and it's great. And Silas, it's an honor to share space with you, man. You're a real one. You know so much stuff. So
Likewise, bro. Likewise.
thank you. I try I try to add my value, as much value as I can, and learn. And Reagan, appreciate you, man. You guys know so much, and it's an honor.
Reagan's a legend.
Yeah, man.
He has so much. He also put that Dropbox link in the private chat for anyone who needs it. Yeah, so much info. But you guys all did awesome today. I appreciate you guys. Is there anything else anyone wants to say before we head out? Like plug your channels, etc., etc.
Well, I said what I had to say. So massive love. I'm done talking, and yeah, peace, love, gratitude.
Later, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. I always love talking to all you guys.
It's been too long, man. Thank you for coming on.
I know let's do this more. I'm trying to get on more. My schedule.
Yeah, and I'm gonna try to be available earlier so I can have more discussions with you guys, because I know you guys are usually doing yours earlier in the day.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Chat, you guys are all awesome. Had a great
Absolutely.
time. Lots to take away. No, it'll be great. We'll meet up and talk more, as always.
All links will be in the description. Follow Simplified Symbolism and follow the Ronin Experience. Silas, you wanna? Oh, and follow Silas Speaks. He dipped out too. So, all right, guys. Talk soon.